Good evening, and you are listening to another edition, but the first edition, I guess we're calling it, of Jedex Live, when it's myself, Nania. Oh, that's on my phone. When it's myself, Nania, and Sabo, we're going to be calling it that. But welcome to everybody who is in here, who I cannot see right now because I have 1,000 tabs open. Jordan and Cartman and Yoshi and Mike and Hiroshima Sun, happy tanking. What is up? Nania and I are going to try to talk you off the ledge, but before we get into all of that, Nania, what's up, man?
Not too much. I mean, I'm still kind of reeling. You and I were both at both of these first two games, so we got to suffer through both of those fun, entertaining games to start the season. So just trying to cope with it.
Yeah. What's up, Gavin? CD, what's up, man? First and foremost, before we can get into anything, I think Sabo might be joining in a little bit. I'm not sure. One, people bitched about the lighting that I had. The lighting is better now, undoubtedly. I got a little fancy light. I can make it really bright or really dim or different colors. So I hope you guys enjoy that. I did that for you guys. But with that being said, Nania, the more important thing is obviously the game and not my lighting. So how many games do you go to? A lot of games, or how many games have you been to? Because I'm trying to get your kind of your feel on the stadium atmosphere.
Yeah, I have not been to many Jets games because I've been in North Carolina for most of the past decade, but I was back in New York this year. So the last game I'd been to before this year was the Browns game in 2019. So I still haven't seen a touchdown at home since 2012 against the Texans when Joe McKnight had that kickoff return touchdown. So it was tough. I did go to the Cowboys game on the road in 2015 and the Browns game on the road in 2016. So those were decent games, but in terms of at home, I've not seen a win in 9 years now, or a touchdown.
Are you talking about the Cowboys game that you're saying was decent? The one that it was like Kellen Moore versus whoever we had, and it was like the final score was like 17-16. It was pretty bad. Meet Patel, first time on this live. What's up, man? Will says, hello, Kings. What's up, man? We appreciate that. Verge, what's up, man? Verge, you're numero 8 or 10 in your last place right now in our pick'ems. You gotta pick that up. But yeah, I've been to a lot of games. I had season tickets for about 6-7 years. Recently with the job, I can't go to as many. I still try to go like 5-6 games a year. I could tell you that was the most lively crowd I've probably seen, like, to start a game, maybe since the home opener. The home opener with Darnold's rookie year. I forget who we played. That one was pretty. Yeah, that one we were ready to rock. Obviously, it was hot as crap out, and then we got down pretty quick, so then that dissipated. But it still wasn't as loud. I haven't felt a crowd like that probably since Patriots 2015 week 16. We had to win back-to-back to get into the playoffs, and the crowd was ready to rock. Like, I give Jets fans a lot of shit, to be completely honest, in terms of like away games not standing up, home games being on their phones. But this game, I applaud the Jets fans. It was packed. I think it was probably like 90-10 Jets fans to Pats fans. So we packed their own stadium. We were loud. The intros were loud. The Jets chant before was loud. Unfortunately for me, and I don't know about other Jets fans who were there, but like personally, as soon as that no call and that fumble happened, like, I got a pit in my stomach. I'm like, it just that stuff happens, and you kind of feel it. And Jets fans didn't let that affect them. Obviously, the Jets forced the punt after. I think they got a first down after that. They forced the punt, get the ball back. First run's like 7 yards, whatever it was. Okay, like, great. Last week we couldn't run the ball. First play, obviously we passed, pick. And then we hold them to a field goal. Next play, pick. And since then, it really dissipated. So I do give Jets fans a lot of credit. I hope other games are as loud as that. It's not going to be with the Titans games coming up, and the Jets, I would say more than likely going to be 0-3. We'll see. We'll talk about it in a little bit. But I give the fans credit. It sucks that it happened. I get the boos, all that stuff. Really quick, before we get into football, what are your thoughts on the booing? I know that's been kind of talked about a lot with fans like booing Zach Wilson.
Yeah, I was not participating in the boos. I think it was just it's too early. It's literally his first game, coach's first game at home. So I was not doing it, but I do kind of understand, because being there in the stadium, you could feel the boos coming, because you could just feel the build up. At that point, I think the loudest boos were after when he airmailed that check down to Carter. And up to that point, he had kind of been stacking bad plays one after the next. It was long past the interceptions, but he was missing throws. They were continuously not mounting drives. So at that point, it was kind of building up, and the game was pretty much over, out of reach. So and then just with all the hype coming into the game, and most of the people booing probably like longtime Jets fans who have been sold this hype of this new regime, this new energy. So I can see where they're coming from, and I think it's kind of good that he, had to hear that in his first home game. Just get a feel for what it's like to play here. But I wasn't participating in it, but I could see, why some people were.
Yeah, and like to me personally, like kind of like having that feel being at a lot of games, I don't necessarily think it was like necessarily booing Zach Wilson. Like while obviously it was like after like bad passes and things like that, I think it was just more frustration towards the team. Like you just, you didn't score points for however many drives. You have 3 points now at that point, 6 points, whatever it was. You're getting blown out at home. All the anticipation. So I think it was booing more of the product than actually Zach Wilson. Like I think a lot of Jets fans, I think 90% of the people, 95, hopefully 99% of the people who are for Zach Wilson are still for Zach Wilson. You'd think that after going up against Bill Belichick, if I told you, hey, Bill Belichick made a rookie quarterback struggle, and I kind of removed the Jets from it, like, oh, of course he did make a quarterback struggle. So the 4 picks were bad. Let's get into Zach Wilson first. We'll kind of run through the team. We'll take some questions and whatever. We'll take some calls. If you guys want to call and pin the chat, 818-573-5427. I know it takes a lot after these losses to tune into live streams and give a crap about what's going on. So I appreciate the people who are in here, and it's going to, I know there'll be more people in here in a little bit, but a lot of people are talking about or at least Gavin and Snoopy were talking about the fumble. What do you think about the Marcus May fumble? Because or the strip that wasn't a fumble, that was blown dead after the ball was already out. It was a clear fumble recovery. And again, being at so many games, when something like that bad happens to the Jets immediately, it's really hard for me to bounce back and be like, okay, yeah, they're going to win this game, because I've just seen too much shit in my life. But what are your thoughts on that no call? And by the way, if you hear a lot of rain, if you hear thunder, it's storming in New Jersey, so my power cuts out and the stream goes out. I apologize. I'll figure it out. But I just want to kind of preface that. But what are your thoughts on that whole fumble or the non-fumble?
Yeah. So being in the stadium, one of the things that, as someone who doesn't go to a lot of games, you're used to getting the explanations and stuff. So I kind of had no idea what was going on. They showed the replay. It was an obvious fumble. I saw the flag on the field. I saw Saleh arguing. I figured we're going to get this ball back and we're going to get momentum to start the game. Yeah. So I didn't really know why they didn't get it. So I was really confused. And I was screaming, cursing, and everything. Yeah, I do at games.
I was like, not a curse. Wait a second.
I do. I pull it out during the games. I turn it up, but I was just confused. Yeah. But about why they didn't get it. But then I looked on Twitter, on the timeout, and it was forward progress or whatever. It was a terrible call, I think, objectively. I don't complain about the refs a lot. I feel like a lot of people use it as a cop out to defend why their team just isn't good. And I usually don't do that. But this game, I think objectively, they were bad. And it all started with that. That was just way too quick of a whistle. They should have gotten the ball there. And like you said, just, when that type of thing happens to the Jets, they just kind of don't rebound from it.
Yeah. And I was saying, I just finished recording my show, the film breakdown, and watching that play, those type of calls are only for the teams like the Pats, the Packers, maybe, some of the upper tier teams, maybe the Chiefs now. Those are the only type of teams who get those calls, because if anything, and especially in the last couple of years, refs are more taught to let the play happen and then figure out what happened after the fact. But whoever that receiver was, I forget exactly who Bourne. He was stopped for half a second and they blew the whistle. And if you actually look at the replay and you hear it on broadcast, the ball was stripped and then they blew the whistle. So it's not like they blew the whistle and then he said, oh, well, he didn't try to hold on to the ball because he heard the whistle. The ball was clearly out and then the whistle came. And then you have Marcus May with a clear fumble recovery. Of course, it's the freaking Pats. And then they get the ball. They march down the field. They didn't score. The Jets did a hell of a job. But still, it's a momentum-changing play in terms of getting the ball and where we get the ball back on, whatever, the 30-yard line. Let's say the Jets 30-yard line, I forget the top of my head, instead of having it on the Pats 35-yard line-ish and being in field goal position immediately. That's a big changer of the game. So I saw some people talking about that. I did want to mention it. But in terms of the booing, yeah, I didn't boo either, by the way. I saw some of that stuff. Yoshi said, I know forward progress is used to protect players, but man, they blew the whistle too. Yeah, they blow the whistle too often. Like, I get it on some instances. Like, we have a quarterback wrapped up. He's kind of fighting through contact. It's been a second or two. His head is ducked, and he kind of slips out of it and runs like a Lamar Jackson, Mahomes type play. But when you have a receiver who's been stood up for literally half a second, it was way too quick on the whistle. It was absolutely ridiculous. Snoopy says, in my opinion, refs control a game or control games. A couple of well-timed calls change a competition of games. And we've seen it through 2 weeks too. Like and in trying to be objective, like I think that's kind of our mission statement. We try not to be overly like fan goggles, but there's a couple of plays I put up in that Panthers game too. It was like very clear holds on against the Jets on like run plays the Panthers were running, and they just didn't call it. So it kind of happens when you have a shitty team. We've seen guys like Tom Brady barely get touched in the face mask, and it'd be a penalty, and then you'll have like Geno Smith, Sam Darnold, whoever it is, get like speared like 2-3 steps after the ball is out, and it's not a call. So it is bullshit. They do really need to, kind of be more consistent with that. CD says Bill didn't confuse as much as his receivers didn't match sacks intensity. Play ups to the whistle should be reviewable. The problem with that is he fumbles it, and there's not a clear fumble recovery. I don't know what fans were at the Chicago. I don't know if Tom's in here. I remember, but Chicago game, Monday Night Football. 24 was it 14 where David Harris like scooped up a ball or Demario Davis scooped up a ball for a touchdown and they blew the whistle dead, so it didn't count and they lost that game. I think they're gonna lose anyway, but actually I think the score is actually pretty close, but that stuff really changes the momentum of the game. So it was absolutely brutal. Appreciate you, Mike. You guys are the greatest. I look forward to hearing you guys streaming regularly. Yeah, once a week for the season, then probably go down to every other week in the off season. Gavin and holding on to the Panthers game, refs miss. Yeah, but okay, so let's get into Zach Wilson. Let's hit the really negative kind of out of the park initially, because I think past Zach Wilson, I think we can talk about a lot of positives on you. So let's just go pick by pick. We don't have to. I'm not going to break down the film on all, but I already did that. I was just talking to myself for 3 hours. But 1 through 4, I'm sure you can remember off the top of your head. What were your thoughts on each of them, kind of simply?
Yeah, so the first two, I don't think the first two are that bad. I think the first one was, look, it's not a great play, but there's a free rusher. The call wasn't great against the coverage that the Pats had. Davis didn't separate that much, and I kind of see what he was doing. Gave him a little bit of a back shoulder ball, chance to come back to it, and it didn't work. It was kind of a risky throw to make, and it gets batted up and picked on a tip drill. So that's the type of pick where it's like, not a good play, but is that like in a turnover worthy kind of pass? To me, not really, like, because it was a tip drill. So still not a good play, but kind of unlucky getting picked off. Second play, he threw it a little bit high. It wasn't ideal, but I think it was a good read, good decision. It went through two hands of your top receiver. I think that ball should be caught. But then at that point, the game starts off like that, and you can feel it as a fan. We're so used to this, way too used to it. But when a quarterback starts a game like that, then you just start holding your breath every time he throws. And I think that feeling is conveyed by the quarterback himself too. And, from that point on, it was just the rhythm wasn't there for him. The third one was definitely probably the worst one, I think. I feel like he could have hit Barrios quick in the flat. And then the throw itself was just in no man's land. He could have went over the top a little bit more to Elijah Moore, or he could have maybe went low and outside a little bit, but he kind of just lofted it up in the worst spot, and it was late. So that one was bad. The last one, I feel like it was kind of a miscommunication on the route where Wilson kind of thought Moore was going to run a go or continue going deep. Moore stopped and came back to it, and that's why it looked so bad. So I don't think it was as bad as it looked, like one of those punt interceptions. But at the same time, the place where he put it, even if Moore did run the route that he apparently thought he was going to, I still don't think that would have been even close to a completion, and he still got it out really late. So I think that one was bad as well. But the first two, I don't think, which is ironic because I don't think the first two were that awful, but coming back to back in the first two plays of the game definitely put him in a bad headspace for the rest of the afternoon.
Yeah, the first one, like, I get it. Like, it was like a deep, like, snag or sit. I'm not sure if it could have been an option. It could have not been an option. Typically, if you see a corner, like, stacking that route and playing over top of it, you'd think Davis with his physicality would be able to kind of move him vertically and then be able to kind of catch a ball in the back shoulder. But the problem with that was he was playing more in trail and behind the route. So the guy playing behind the route and him breaking back towards the corner, you just can't throw that ball. So not a good decision. Not a good look in terms of it was a good call in terms of the pass with their blitz versus Jets protection, because you had that linebacker running in free. So it's not a great, it's not a good pick for sure. No pick is good. I've seen worse. The second one, like you said, you had Davis lengthy over, and then I think it was you said Elijah Moore in the flat. The thing with that is I think people are kind of Monday morning quarterbacking that one too a little bit too much in my opinion, because if that situation occurs, let's say next week or in 7 weeks from now, they say, oh, well, look at him skipping the flat to hit a guy deeper down the field, and now they're at the 35, 30-yard line, whatever it was. Great decision by Zach Wilson, knowing where, his concepts and all that stuff. But because he threw the ball a little bit too high, like a touch too high, he couldn't lead him outside because there's a cloud corner right there. So he throws the ball, again, a little bit too high, good zip on it, hits your number one receiver, $12.5 million in the hands, not just the fingertips, the actual hands. It goes through his hands, and it's a pick, not Zach Wilson's fault. Like that, again, take the check down there, take the shorter guy, easy to say. He looked at it, he checked the over, it was open, he threw the ball, not going to kill him on that one at all. That's Corey Davis's.
People were really hindsight with that. It's like, oh, he should check it down. Like, it was a good read. The throw was there. Like, he saw it was Croft, I think, was carrying a defender downfield, and he saw that ball was going to be there to Davis, and he gave him a catchable ball. But because the receiver doesn't catch it and it gets picked off, now the quarterback needs to be conservative. So, that one was not on him. Not the best throw. He could have given him a better ball, but that should be caught over half the time.
No, yeah, I think 9 out of 10 times, to be honest, it hits you in the hands. And it's not like I hate that, like the old saying of like, oh, it hits your fingertips. Oh, it hits you in the hand. You catch it. That's obviously BS. But when it literally slips through like the diamond of your hands, that's obviously not a good look for Corey Davis. So not a pinpoint accurate throw, but not a bad decision. General accuracy was there. Not on him. The third one, I remember breaking him down. It's actually not a bad read by him, in my opinion. It was just, he was a little bit late to pull the trigger, and a lot of his balls, and you could tell he was kind of fading out of throws and not getting his feet under him. And I think just the playing against Belichick and playing against that Patriots logo really kind of affected his mental, and him throwing those early picks just really kind of, it hurt him. It definitely did. But that was like a flat, I think it was like a flat 7. And based on the leverage that Moore has on the corner, he has outside leverage on a corner, on a flag. I think it's more of a corner route. And that's a ball you could throw, but you have to throw it with good timing, and you have to throw it with good zip and touch on it, because obviously he's going to close that ground. So you want to put it, over top of the defender. And I believe that one, either his feet weren't right or he faded away from it. He throws the ball too short, and he throws it a little bit too late, and it's picked. But in terms of the read was there. Just his trigger was lacking, and his mechanics were lacking, and the ball ends short. It's not a bad read, though, in my opinion. I know he could have went with Barrios or
Do you think that throw was there, the one to Barrios underneath?
So I looked at it, and I'm trying to remember everything on the top of my head. It was like a 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 6, so I think it was available. But I think in terms of guaranteeing the first down, I think that a good quarterback makes that throw to Moore, again, just based on leverage, an out route, a corner route, whatever outside breaking route with inside leverage. You want to trust your receiver. So the fact that Moore really quickly gained on outside leverage, it wasn't a bad read. Again, just slow to make it and a bad throw, because Barrios was there, but it almost acted like a natural rub concept. So if Moore took it vertical and that receiver were to, or if Moore were to kind of get in the pathway of the corner and he didn't throw the flat, then yes, I'd criticize it. But the fact that the corner either got under or over top of it and was in a position to tackle Barrios if the ball was there, and it would have been close, but still close enough for him to look at Moore based on leverage and throw that ball. So I don't think it was a bad decision by Zach Wilson, to be completely honest. I think, again, it's a little bit more like, I'm not sure exactly. I forget exactly what you said, but I think looking back at it with good timing, good placement, it's a completion and it's a praised ball. So I think that was more, again, of him getting, in his head a little bit and being inaccurate. The fourth one, I'm not exactly sure. I'm not sure if that was supposed to be Davis and Davis cut it short. I'm not sure if Moore was supposed to cut inside, which I don't think so. That was hero ball. It was like second and 85 on that play. Like, it was literally second, 35, 20, 30, something like that. And he just chucked the ball up there. So that was probably the worst one. But the second and third ones weren't as bad to me. Like, yeah, the process of him throwing the ball wasn't good, but his process of thinking why he was going to throw that corner out, I didn't think it was brutal. We're going to get into some more of the of Zach Wilson. I just want to get to the chat really, really quick. Chris said something about, hey guys, quick question. Do you guys think ever opposing teams watch your content? You may be doing their homework for them. Love your stuff, by the way. I don't think so. If they are, that's a serious problem for that team. You know, I like our work, but they should be game planning off of Jets X Factor YouTube live. K Delgado says I can't wait to talk about the other guys. Yeah, it's we have to talk about the bad. I want to get the bad out of the way first while there's less people in here and talk about the good. Moving on. It's true. I tried to test and didn't work. I don't know what Mike's talking about. Something. Chris says Wilson will grow, have to take his lumps and take them as lessons. Young team, young actions, bumpy road ahead. Peaks will be high, valleys deep. Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it, Chris. Like, if I told you that that any other team, let's just say it's the whoever's a young rebuilding, the Chargers, even though they're more ahead of us. Okay, they got beat badly by the Pats. Young coaching staff, young quarterback, they got beat. Like, yeah, it's going to happen. Youngest team in the NFL, youngest coaching staff, I think in the NFL, or one of the youngest coaching staffs. Our OC is 33 years old or whatever he is. First time OC versus Bill Belichick, who's been coaching football since the 1700s. So like, yeah, I could see us struggling against them. Somebody says we need a wide receiver trade for Terry McLaurin. I don't think that was the problem. I don't think they're going to trade for Terry McLaurin. And Terry McLaurin's one of the young upcoming studs in the NFL. They're not going to trade for Terry McLaurin. They have enough at receiver. Steven Engel says, blew it. I'm more concerned about Zach being accurate this game. Thin air. If he throws it a bit high, then it's going to sail on him and get picked off. That's not my primary concern is him going through his reads, having the trigger, not throwing off his back foot, etc. So I get it. It's not going to affect as much. Whatever. Kev Lowe says, let's talk about the receiving core. We will in a little bit. Trade for Terry McLaurin. All we have is Corey Davis. What are your thoughts on that? Because it's being spammed a little bit.
I mean, I don't think wide receiver is really the problem. I mean, it obviously wasn't the best game for that group against New England for Davis, dropping balls, not really separating, miscommunications and stuff. But I mean, Crowder isn't back yet. Barrios filled in really well, I thought. I mean, I don't think wide receiver is a problem, and I also don't think they're in position to be trading the first round pick plus that you'll probably need to get Terry McLaurin. So I probably wouldn't consider it.
Oh, again, one of the better receivers in the NFL coming up. They have Davis. Like we've been praising the receiver core. Like Davis is a lower tier number one, high tier number two. We're all hyped on Elijah Moore. Crowder's coming back. I think Cole's a good reserve guy. Like to say that the receivers are the problem. Like if you trade major assets for a receiver before you're trading for a right guard or maybe a safety or something like that, like that's obviously a bad management, or even a tight end. Like I'd rather have a tight end than a receiver right now. What's up, Bonesy? We have some Mims stuff in here. We'll talk about Mims, I guess, in a little bit. We're being out coached when we're being outplayed. I don't think, to be honest, and I see you're on the line, Cartman. We'll be there in a second after we hit on some of the little bit more of the Zach Wilson stuff. But TJ saying we're being out coached more than we're being outplayed. And the clock management at the end, I think they did take some extra time. I didn't want to necessarily see them take the field goal. I get it, to get down 2 scores. I still would rather see them, go for a touchdown. But I think LaFleur this week at least is getting a little bit too much criticism. I think it was a lot on Zach Wilson and not a lot on LaFleur. Like now for LaFleur, the 2 adjustments I would have liked to see just in general, specifically this week. One, they had a lot of extra protection there versus the Pats who were dropping 7-8 guys. So I'd like to see more receivers running routes. I don't love the amount of 12 and 21 we're using. Listen, like I get that's what the Shanahan system does. But at the same time, our talents at receiver, it's not with Ryan Griffin seeing a ton of snaps. Yeah. So that's an adjustment. And then also with him, just in general, it's like, again, specifically this game, the Panthers game, I forget the top of my head, but I want to see more easy completions for Zach early. Like I want to see more jet sweeps. I want to see more screens because we haven't really been seeing that a lot. Yeah, and we know the quarterback position is a lot about getting in a rhythm, and specifically rookie quarterbacks. Like that's the 3 major criticisms I have of LaFleur specifically, maybe a little bit of Saleh. But I think it's almost being overemphasized, especially this game, of how bad LaFleur was. Because I don't think he was terrible this game. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I agree with you on the easy completions part because I feel like that's something we all kind of anticipated. Oh, and also the like the jet sweeps, end arounds, the manufactured run game touches, because we haven't seen one carry for a wide receiver yet, and you don't need to do that 10 times a game, but just once or twice a game, I feel like can force the defense to respect your motion a little bit more. And then just to throw more screens, because they have not thrown many of those either. You have Elijah Moore, who I feel like can do a lot of damage on those. Even Davis can make some noise on screens. So I've just a few more screens, a few more designed, easy completions underneath, I think would be great, because as much as Wilson's playing hero ball, they are asking him to do a lot. He's near the top of the league in his average time to throw, his average depth of target. He's playing super aggressive football so far. And I feel like they can, as much as he needs to tone it down, I think they can help him with that by just, easing up, especially early in games. What they're asking him to do. So I agree.
Yeah. So there's a couple other comments in there asking about tight ends who are available. I'm not really sure. Somebody's put about Mark Ingram, and then people talk about like Corey Davis and stuff too. Like, again, Bill Belichick. If you're talking about confusing rookie quarterbacks, what's the other thing that comes with Bill Belichick? Him taking away your number one weapon. Corey Davis, number one weapon, was taken away. Like, are you shocked? He takes away AJ Browns and Julio Jones out there.
That Corey Davis was not going to have a big game. And look, he's got to catch, the balls that he does get.
Yeah.
But we knew he wasn't going to have a huge game. But the throws of the other receivers were there. Elijah Moore should have had a touchdown on that one play. But I don't know your thoughts on that play, the one where Wilson kind of led him to the sideline. Did you think that was a bad placement?
Yeah, post wheel. That was it. One, he was late on the throw. And two, it was bad placement, because if he puts that like on Moore instead of leading him to the sideline, he has like 10, 15 yards of space on the safeties coming over the top. I'm taking Moore with 15 yards of space against a safety to break that tackle. So, So
there was that play. Moore could have scored. Berrios had 7 catches, 70 yards, and he was open a lot more. And Wilson missed a bunch of throws to him. So you knew your number one was going to get taken away. And the other guys were open to make plays, and the quarterback just didn't cash in on it that much. So, it was a bad game for Davis just in terms of the drop in the second play. And, there were a few times he wasn't quite separating as much as he would like him to. But that is the Patriots game plan, and it's expected when you face them.
Yeah. We have this guy, Kev, who I've never seen before, who's blaming it all on the wide receivers. I don't know what you were watching with Zach Wilson. Some of the receivers weren't open and stuff like that, but to blame it all on the wide receivers, I like, again, you have that play, which I think that could have been a touchdown. And then they have another concept. I think it's like a mirrored concept where they had like two verticals and then a seam against cover 2, which is a perfect call. And Wilson's looking towards the seam, and GVR allows a sack, and it could have been a touchdown. It was later in the game, or at least a massive gain. So, there's a lot of people are at fault. It's not one guy or the other. It's not the wide receiver core. There's parts of the receiver core. Like, you want to see Davis catch the balls, like you said, that come to him. You want to see the tight ends catch the balls that go to him. Croft on the sideline on that one play where Wilson escapes, hits him in the hands. Great throw, didn't catch it. GVR getting beat. There's plenty of problems, but to blame it all on the receivers, I don't know what we're talking about with that. And then Big Green's talking about bringing up Yeboah. If that's your answer at tight end, and go ahead. But Yeboah, listen, people were hyped on Yeboah because of one reason, legitimately, or two reasons. Maybe one, because they saw him with Elijah Moore, or two, because we all get infatuated with mock drafts. And in mock drafts, Yeboah was available in the 4th or 5th round, and we kept taking him because we needed a tight end. So now you associate, because of a mock draft from a random website with people who don't know what they're talking about, put him in the 4th round, you automatically associate him with being a 4th round pick. So now you get him as a UDFA, and now he's a great UDFA because you saw him on whatever website. I'm not going to call anybody out who had him as a 4th round pick. And then people say, oh, well, there's no way he should have been undrafted. Somebody's going to pick him up. He's on the practice squad. He's on the practice squad. Nobody sniffed him. So, like, Yeboah is not the answer. Maybe in the future he is, but like, he's super, super raw. Keep going. LaFleur needs to work on the passing offense, and not good, to be honest. There was plays that were open. Again, he schemed open a post wheel concept with a rub from the slot. I think it was Berrios. Could have been a touchdown. The mirrored concept could have been a touchdown. So, like, I don't think LaFleur's passing offense was bad this game. Now, did we say that we want to see him give some easier completions to Zach? Yeah, sure. But it wasn't a terrible game by LaFleur. It just wasn't. It's time to panic. Shake my head. I think it's time for Jody to go. Daquan. Youngest team in the NFL, young quarterback, young coaching staff, plenty of cap space. Time to panic. Like look at the corners right now that he's brought in. Look at Guidry. Look at Hall, who's a late round pick. Look at Huff, who's playing pretty well. Look at JFM, who he brought in, who's playing well. Just because Zach Wilson struggled against the Patriots, like now we're panicking. Crazy. It is crazy, Nania. I'm gonna keep moving on. We'll go to the phone if he's still there, really quick. I can't get through all this facts. Yeah, Chris. Yeah, people were open. It's just because people were open and Zach didn't hit him, or GBR allowed a pressure and they couldn't be hit because at that time in his progression, now he's a guy in his face. Now he has to roll out. Now that read's not open because of GVR. Now Michael Fuller's not a good play caller. Like again, second game, 33, 34 years old. Let's not be crazy. And there are some roster moves we can question, Nani. Like the Mims thing, we can question it. Becton got hurt because of GVR. In terms of the other picks, like Morgan busted. P. Ryan might not be the best player right now. Ashton Davis, people have been bringing it up. He's a guy who I did the review with Marcus Coleman. We specifically said he is raw. He is going to take time. His first year, he was raw. He was going to take time. Like that's what we expected out of him. He's a freak of an athlete, but he needs time to develop. And people were blaming him for the injuries. Specifically, I don't remember off the top of my head if Ashton Davis had injury problems in college. Do you? I don't know if you remember.
I don't remember for sure off the top of my head. I don't think so, but don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure. I don't think so though.
So you have a guy who doesn't have injury problems.
In general, with the injuries, like I don't think he takes chances on that many injury-prone guys. It just happened like that. Like even Becton, like that's like you knew that would be part of the risk just with how unique of a frame he has, but he wasn't that banged up in college, so
Yeah, exactly. So you're taking guys who don't have injury problems and they're injured now. Like, with Becton, like you said, it's not like he had the pick of the litter with those four guys. And it was Becton versus Wirfs. Becton was left tackle. Wirfs was the right tackle. They wanted a left tackle. Like, I get taking Becton, who has a huge ceiling. He's going to get banged up sometimes. He's been banged up when he's on the field. He's pretty good, minus, week one where he struggled a little bit. But Ashton Davis injured. Mims, huge question, but he showed talent. So it's not a bad pick. It's how the coaching staff is handling it. And then past that, Zuniga, okay, not a good pick. We didn't like that as it came out, really. P. Ryan, not thrilled with it. I think he could be a decent role player. But past that, like, okay, now you have Hall, now you have Guidry, now you have Huff, now you have Eccles, now you have Carter, who are balling out this year. You have Michael Carter, who played well this week. So, like, to say Joe Douglas is bad when his drafting has been decent, and people are like, oh no, it's not. One, give it 3-4 years. Two, we have to look at the situations they're put in, et cetera. If they have a lot more time. And he's been fleecing people with trades. He's been signing pretty good free agent contracts. Like, to be out on Joe Douglas with a panic right now and say he's going to get fired, I think you need to chill out a little bit. You have a young team who's losing games against the Panthers, who just like destroyed the Saints, and against the Pats, who are the Pats. So
which wasn't a team loss. It was largely on the quarterback. Other than that,
which we'll get to in a little bit. Yeah. Quickly on Zach Wilson, really quick, we'll get to Assassin. What do you think of the rest of his game minus the actual picks, and we'll move on.
Yeah, I think that was more concerning to me than the interceptions themselves, because I feel like, especially in the late third quarter, early fourth quarter, he got into a really tough stretch where there were a lot of different mistakes in terms of his accuracy. I feel like he missed some throws high. There was that check down to Carter that he was high on. There was a throw to Barrios that could have been a first down that he was high on. So he just kind of got rattled, and you can see it. I think it's good though that he did put 3 really special throws on tape. In between all of that, there was the sideline throw to Croft that was great after that escape. Mm-hmm. And then the 2 he dropped over the shoulder downfield to Barrios and then Jeff Smith later. Those are legitimately elite throws. So the fact that he could pepper those in the middle of everything else he was doing was good, just to be able to have something positive to look at. But yeah, I think it was concerning. Some of the erratic mistakes that he was making later on. But we'll see. It's just one game against Belichick, but there were some legitimate issues in terms of his accuracy, especially from a footwork standpoint. So I think that was probably more concerning for me, how he reacted to the interceptions more so than the interceptions themselves.
Yeah, a lot of people in the chat are panicking. I don't want to address all the stupid stuff in the chat right now about Zach Wilson and Douglas and all this stuff. And again, like with the draft, like if I could tell you that, 4 out of 10 picks would be starters or role players, like you pretty much take that for the draft. Like people think that because they can draft players on Madden and develop them, it should be how they do it in real life. Like if you can hit on half your picks with a couple of those being stars, a couple of them being role players, like that's a really good number. And again, you look at last year with Deidre
I think
and
people's
Huff
expectations for drafts are just too high. It's really, really hard to hit on draft picks. And, you look at the draft history of teams that, build themselves to consistent winner status. They're not killing every draft. They get like 2 or 3 pieces every draft, and that's it. So if you can get Becton, he stays healthy and plays the way that he has played. Bryce Hall keeps playing the way he's played. Hopefully Mims picks it up at some point. Maybe Davis can be a role player for you. Bryce Huff in that mix. Like, that's great right there. That's objectively great drafting. If you can get a couple of starters, a couple of good role players, that's it. Because, what the Jets have done in past years under Mac, under Idzik, was get 0, and that's bad. So I think if Douglas's 2020 class, pending health from Becton, is on track to be good, and then the early returns for this year's class are really good. And it's 2 games, but the early returns are positive. So I definitely don't think there's any reason to panic with him just yet.
Yeah, people are saying I'm a Joe Douglas apologist or whatever. Like I'm just trying to look at it objectively instead of panicking after week 2 when this is again a young team with a lot of cap, with a lot of picks. Those same people are going to come back next year and be like, wow, we just signed all these free agents. We got a new guard. We got all these draft picks. We have 2 firsts, 2 seconds, 2 fourths, whatever it is. This team is going up. Yeah, like we expected to take lumps this year. It's where the team is. So, and a lot of more people talking about the receivers. I don't get people talking about trading for Mike Williams now. He's like 27 years old, often injured. We need guards. We need tackles. We might need a center. Who is the linebackers next year? Who is another starting corner? Who is the starting safety if May is gone? We're talking about trading for receivers right now. We're crazy. People are crazy right now. Crazy. 4 out of 10 is a successful draft. Yeah, Chris, it is 100% a successful draft. If 2 of those are starters, 2 are role players, that's a good draft. It is. Look at the hit percentages. Morgan was a whiff in terms of the signing. He signed for like $3.5 million. Not a whiff. He played pretty well last game. K Delgado saying only read my comments. Yeah, but in terms of, I'm trying to get to the chat. We had a super chat initially. Did I miss it? I really hope I did not miss it. Okay, sorry. I didn't hit it right away. Jordan says, what do you guys think about the clock management in the 4th? I feel like we gave up on the game before it ended. This upset me more than anything in the game. I think they wanted to get out of there, to be honest, and it did upset me a little bit. I'm not going to lose my mind because Zach Wilson at that point was just struggling, and like I'll continue to say, like minus the picks, like my problem with him was like he's usually a lot quicker on the trigger, not in terms of his release. His release is always quick, but in terms of like him mental processing wasn't there. His footwork was not there. He was fading out of pretty much every throw and like pop stepping like he was instead of like loading onto that back foot. Wasn't getting pointed. His transitional footwork through reads wasn't good. There's a lot bad with his lower half. So he was struggling, and the Jets kept him in there to take his lumps. But I was a little bit disappointed with the clock management, but I'm not going to lose my mind over it. So I apologize for missing that initially, Jordan. I'm trying to get to all the chat, but those always get to. Let's see. Somebody saying I just don't lie to people and hype up the Jets like most like Jets YouTube channels mostly do. I don't think that's us, but I think okay. Okay. Yeah, but he wasn't good. Moving on to the call. If he's still there, Assassin's been waiting forever. He wants to talk about Joe Douglas, which we've talked about a little bit before. So, Assassin, can you hear us?
Hello.
What's up, man?
Yep.
You. What's up, fellas? Dr. Assassin here.
Yeah, I know.
But you guys kind of already hit on it with Joe Douglas. I mean, I'll admit it. I'm a big Joe Douglas guy, so I kind of stick up for him all the time. But like all I see now is everybody wants to fire Joe Douglas, or like everybody shits on his 2020 draft class. And what I'm saying is like you switch out James Morgan and Jabari Zuniga with Guidry and Bryce Huff, and people are going to talk about, like, people would say the draft class is amazing. You know what I mean? But at the same time, like, I also see that, he's had 3 years. Like, he's technically only had 2. I know he was here for the 2019 season, but he didn't do anything. Like, everybody loves to say like Ryan Khalil was the worst signing ever, but that was literally just a desperation move to not have Jonathan Harrison start. And like, he was terrible, but he was probably better than Harrison that year, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I'm high on Joe Douglas. I just like the picking offensive players with the first 4 picks, like that just kind of sealed the deal for me this year. Like he gets it, you know what I mean? Like he traded Herndon for a 4th, and Herndon has been terrible for the Vikings. I know you hate PFF, but you know, he grades out pretty well as a pass blocker, but other than that, he sucks. And to get a 4th round pick for him, I mean, that's pretty insane. I just think that I'm nervous that because like Woody Johnson, I feel like he listens to the media. So I hope he doesn't make a rash decision here and we have to start it all over again, because I feel like Rich Cimini and stuff. Rich Cimini's, he's always like, oh, the 2020 draft class. And what I find so funny is that they didn't say a word about like Mike McCagnon's draft classes ever, I feel like. Do you agree with that?
Go ahead, Anya.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think so. I think Douglas is just in this unique position because, like you said, he comes in and in the middle of a season after an off season's already gone through. So I feel like him being there in the beginning of 2019 gives us this perception that he's had more time than he's really had. So the expectations are kind of high. And then he has this first season, which is essentially a tank season that he kind of signed up for just with the way that he approached it. Not that they wanted to win 2 games, but he definitely didn't necessarily make the best effort to try to win last year because he wanted to just reset the timeline at a lot of positions, make the roster younger. So he didn't spend too much money last year. And to be fair, the signings that he did make didn't necessarily work out for the most part in 2019 or 2020. And you can criticize him for that. But I think it's just early, even though he's had 2 drafts. The second draft class has played 2 games. The first draft class, like you said, you throw Guidry and Huff in there. You get Guidry, Huff, Becton, Hall. Hopefully Davis and Mims can pick it up. Like, that's good. Like, just look at the draft history of any team, any successful team in the league, and look at how many like real hits that they get per draft class. Like, I have the Chiefs pulled up right now. Prior to when they win the Super Bowl in 2019, they're getting like 2 good players a draft, and that's it. And that's all you need to be really good. No one is hitting every single pick in every draft. Even first round picks are like 50-50 bets. And then it gets like 30% in the second round, then 20 in the third round. Then it's like 10% the rest of the draft. So it's very hard to be successful in the draft. If you can get 2-3 hits per draft, that's all you can realistically hope for. And it does look like they're on track to do that. And then you do that for, 3, 4, 5 years. That's how you start to build up a winner. And he's only 2 drafts into it. So yeah, I don't think it's, a homer sort of take to be, I think you can objectively say, not that he's done a good job because the wins haven't been there yet. And we still need to see guys be healthy, maintain the starts that they've had. But I think it is objectively fair to say that he does deserve a lot more time and that it's way too early to criticize him harshly.
Yeah. And in terms of that draft class, like it's a good point because we bring up like the UDFAs and like you said, like if Huff is a decent starting defensive end, Hall is a starting corner. You have Guidry, who's like a number 4 backup slot, but has been playing good. We have Mims, who we'll see what happens with him. Again, all progression isn't linear. People are happy with Corey Davis. Week 1, now they hate him after week 2, which is just how kind of whatever, like not flammable, but like how crazy Jets fans are. 1 week again, we had some guy in the chat saying that Corey Davis was only open because AJ Brown got him open. I forget who that is who said that in the chat. You're saying things to say things, but you can't actually back it up, because I did a 4-hour review of Corey Davis with the guy who played in the NFL for 11 years. And that guy who played in the NFL for 11 years was very impressed. So we watched him plenty, and it wasn't because of AJ Brown. A guy like Kenny Yeboah was getting open because of scheme and stuff like that. But you're just saying stuff to say stuff. That's just stupid. There's 4 hours of film out there. This is not the channel for that. But continuing, and it's not like Joe Douglas is like if he was signing, like, you have to understand the situation we're in too. If we were losing like this and we had like more of a veteran quarterback, if he was spending big money in free agency, if next year we only had $20 million to spend and not number 1 or 2 in cap space, if he was using a bunch of draft picks to get guys and we're still playing really, really poorly, I would be more upset. But to when you think about it and think how he managed the Jamal Adams situation, so in terms of getting him, the Herndon situation, picking up JFM, getting the UDFAs he did. The draft he had this year was good. Navigating free agency. Like people talk about Corey Davis and killing him right now. I think he's a lower tier number 1, a higher tier number 2. Yeah, kill him all you want. But the Pats, who everybody praises, 1, hits on like 0 picks a year. They suck at drafting, and they're always praised. And 2, they just signed Nelson Aguilar for $13 million a year. So who's a better player, Nelson Aguilar or Corey Davis? Like we have to have realistic expectations. He wasn't signed to be Julio Jones. He was signed to be at a lower tier number 1, a high tier number 2. That's what $12.5 million is in the NFL nowadays. So like people are just way too quick to jump the gun. And again, if he was trading for guys like Le'Veon Bell or signing old free agents, and we weren't the youngest team in the NFL, if we were the oldest team in the NFL and we were really rebuilding like we were under McCagnon, I'd be a lot more pessimistic about Douglas, but I get what this year is. And like Assassin brought up, like, yeah, the Khalil thing, he gets killed for it, but it's not like he entered free agency and that was his number 1 target and brought him in for $10 million. He called him out of retirement because they were panicking about how bad Jonathan Harrison was. He flubbed, but we expected him to flub for the most part. So like people are being way too kind of like jumping off the cliff right now because of 2 losses with the youngest team in the NFL with a ton of cap space. It's crazy. I don't know if I hit on all my points there that I kind of like mentally put down, but nonetheless, Assassin, do you want to comment back? Do you have anything else before we let you go?
Yeah, just a couple more things. Just really quick, like even a team like the Colts, like they're really good at drafting, but I mean, what do they have to show for it? Yeah, they make the playoffs, but they can't really make it past the first round. I mean, like you could hit on every pick, and it, like you can't just build like you need to use all the tools, free agency, draft, trades, and people are just freaking out, especially about the 2020 class. But I agree with everything you said. Like, and he's also waiting to get this dead money off our cap, like Tremaine Johnson and Le'Veon Bell. I mean, they're taking up a chunk of money as well. And
Tremaine Johnson is making right now more money than all of our corners combined, minus Justin Hardy.
Yeah, it's insane. And don't forget, he negotiated a 6-year contract. Like he knew this is going to be a shithole at first. Like,
yeah.
I mean, and people think you could just magically fix the offensive line overnight. I know that guys like Greg Van Roten are awful, but this is a team that didn't draft like an offensive lineman in the first 2 picks since Vlad Dukas when he took over. Like,
and that was it. And that was the only second-round pick since first or second-round pick since
you can't just go into agency and sign 5 good starters. Like, even like a guy like Corey Linsley, he's been struggling with the Chargers so far this year. Joe Tooney's been kind of struggling. He's not the same player. Like, imagine we dished out like $18 million to Joe Tooney. Like, I don't know. I feel good where we're at right now. Like, I hate Greg Van Roten. Like, especially after seeing one Jets drive with him dancing and stuff. Like, maybe he should be putting in a little more work. But I just think that Joe's done a really good job, like, getting this draft capital. And I think next year, like, because this is what the Eagles did with Wentz, you know what I mean? Like, he didn't look amazing his first year. He had the ups and downs. And then the second year, they went all out. Like, that's when they spent the money and they won. I know they won the Super Bowl without him, but I'm looking forward to it, see what he does.
Yeah, again, if we were sitting here and we didn't have like $65-70 million and 11 picks next year, I'd be more pessimistic. But we have so much room to build and to add on to the young core of this roster. It's like none of these guys are old. Like, you have Davis for more years. You have Moore. You have Becton. You have ABT. If McGovern rounds out
on the way back next year,
you have Carl Lawson on the way back. You have JFM, who's been playing well. You have Q, who's been quiet but is still a good player. You have Fadokasi. You have Rankins for 2 years. Like, we have talent, but we have a young coaching staff with a young team who are not used to each other, who have to gel together. Like, the offensive line, people just think, again, you plug them in. It's not the case. Like, you have plenty of offensive lines who don't have the most talent, but because they had that cohesion and a good offensive line coach is what makes them good. So yeah, Assassin, we appreciate the call. I think you're second. Or you're tied for second now. Yeah, JFM and Fadokasi too.
And Fadokasi. Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. We're gonna get back to the chat, and we have another call on the line waiting. So appreciate the call, Assassin, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you soon, obviously.
Yep. And I'll hopefully whoop your ass in Pick'ems and fantasy. So.
All right. We'll see you later. Hit the chat real quick. Nania before. I don't know why this is not. Okay, there it is. Sorry. Hit the chat real quick before we get to that. Nick's Integra said, "What's up? What is up?" Moving through the chat quickly to see if there's anything. Again, if I don't get to your stuff, I'm sorry. I apologize. There's a lot to talk about. Callers, etc. Super chats are always welcome. Helps with the website. Blah, 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 blah. Next year, Jets will be in the playoffs. Says Jets gang. It's a possibility. I think this team is better than the 2017 Jets or 2018 Jets who went 7-9. I think they have a lot more talent. Again, if I told you a rookie quarterback and number one receiver would struggle against Bill Belichick, nobody would think I'm crazy. But because you're kind of immersed or you're submerged in it, you can't really look at it objectively. Same thing with Douglas. Like, yes, the roster has a ton of holes right now, but we have a ton of capital to fill those holes. And that's a main reason too. Like, especially in the New York market, Nani, like we had to chase Joe Douglas because he knew what this is going to take, and he knew what he's coming into with these fans and the situation with his owner. So he got that big contract because he knew it's going to take 2, 3, 4 years before we even start to become a team who can compete. And right now, this is his second actual offseason. And this team is not going to be the team it is week 1 and 2 that it is week 14, 15, 16, 17. It's just not. There's no way. So moving on to the chat, I'm trying to see if there's anything.
It's just been a while since they've actually had, a real process like this. When was the last time that, they had a cohesive timeline between the quarterback, the cap space, the draft picks, just going forward? Because just like the last decade, they were always in flux. And 2015 really threw them off because they had that successful year out of nowhere when they really should have been trying to rebuild. Then they got fooled into trying to compete the next year when they really shouldn't have, because that was a fluky year. And then that threw them off. Then they were tanking with McCown. And then you had a new quarterback with a lame duck head coach who gets fired after the first year. Then you got a new head coach with the quarterback in the second year. So they finally teared it down. And, they could have done it differently. But they got the guy they wanted at GM. And now, they're moving forward with all the assets that you could ask for. And the early draft returns look promising. So it's going to take time. It's hard for, I think, it definitely is for me and you too. I know you go to a lot of games. I now have to watch 2 losses in a row. It's tough to be patient, but this is for the first time legitimately and objectively. And it's not just being hopeful that they've actually had a cohesive path forward to success. And it's not just we got Darnold, but, Darnold was a fantastic prospect, but the structuring around building, from the front office on down was terrible. There's just no cohesiveness. Now they finally have that. So it's tough to be patient, but this is how you build a franchise, and they're doing it the right way.
Yeah, the guy in the chat I've never seen before. Again, Kev is talking about the receiver core a lot. I don't get it. I don't get his hate for the receiver core. He says no, we have nobody but Davis. But I'm sure it was one of those guys who was hyping up Elijah Moore, and he deserves the hype. Like last game, Nani, you watched. He's running really crisp routes, and he dropped a big ball or two, or one really big ball and another ball in the Panthers game, and now people are out on him. So you had a rookie receiver who had some jitters who dropped the ball, and now he sucks, and he's not going to ever be anything because 2 weeks in the NFL, he's not showing Pico Del Beckham and Julio Jones. That's where we're at. Like this is we're being foolish, guys. We are. So Davis, Moore, happy with it. When Crowder comes back, objectively, at the minimum, he's a top 15 to top 10 slot receiver in the NFL, probably top 10. Like they have weapons, and then Cole is good depth. And again, with Mims, which we can talk about another date or maybe this show, but yes, that situation is not working out like we wanted it to, but he showed a lot of promise in 2020. It's not necessarily a bad pick. And again, all progression is not linear. Just because Odell Beckham and these guys and AJ Brown are here year 2 doesn't mean that Mims can't be good. Looking at his situation, at the end of this year 3, year 4, again, no training camp last year, no preseason, came in week 6, 7 this year, got hurt, got sick. Now he's behind with the playbook. Just because he's not playing now doesn't mean he's a bust. It's crazy how quick people are to jump the gun. Again, and if I told you right now, okay, the Jets have $15 million in cap space, they have no room to sign people, and they have minimal picks next year, panic. 2022, if the draft class, if 2020 draft class, which is terrible, which it's not, it's okay. If that takes a shit, goes into the shitter, if the free agents don't hit, if next year we're sitting in the same position, 0-2 getting blown out, I'll start to panic a little bit. But this year is for rebuilding, and it's about progress and progressive progress from week 1 to 17 to week 18. And we gotta be patient. Like, yeah, we want to win one of these games, obviously. And we've taken a couple more lumps than maybe we've wanted to, but to say it's over and Douglas is terrible, fire Saleh. You guys had unrealistic expectations of what that is. And I saw somebody said in the chat too that Moore is a receiver who doesn't like to take hits. Go watch Alabama highlights where he's going across the middle, sees a safety, catches the ball, gets absolutely whacked, and pops right back up. So he's not a receiver who likes to take hits. Why? Because he's small. So because small receivers can't take hits, I guess Steve Smith can't take hits either. Like, just people put people into boxes because they're small, they can't take hits. Because they're big, they can catch contested balls. Like, people are way too simplistic in their thinking. Moore is too small to be good. Like, okay, there's been plenty of receivers who have been good who are small over the years. Like, people are absurd. Same thing with the running backs too. You hear, Michael Carter's too small. If anything, if you're going to tell me, can you have a 5'8" running back versus 6 foot running back? That's all I get to hear. I'm taking the 5'8" over the 6 foot just because of that low center of gravity, etc. But you guys are crazy. The more now Elijah Moore is getting hate after 2 weeks, which I've never thought I would say. Elijah Moore doesn't know the system if he's running the wrong routes. Which wrong route did he run? I'm confused. Yeah, you guys are crazy in the chat. This is one of the most wild chats I've seen, but a lot of you guys are just talking crazy. Ryan, topic Joe Douglas, 2020 draft class. Hit it already, but we'll give Ryan his freedom to speak. Ryan, can you hear me? What's up?
Yo, hey Joe. Hey Michael, how you guys doing?
What's up, man?
Doing good.
Yeah, I actually wanted to kind of I must have mistyped, but I actually wanted to cover more of the 2022 draft. However, I do want to address right off the bat, I don't understand why people are criticizing Joe Douglas already when if you literally, I mean, look at Bryce Hall as the 5th round pick he's contributed more to the Jets than Tremaine Johnson ever has. And I feel like McCagnon didn't get this kind of attention from the media, from beat writers. And also like Idzik, if you just look at any pick we took outside of the 1st round from the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, throughout 2 GMs in whatever it was, 8 years, I think we've already gotten more contributions from Joe Douglas's draft class in his first 2 than we really ever did in Idzik and McCagnon's. But besides that, I was just interested to know how you guys felt about whether we should go. I've seen people talking about Thibodeaux as a defensive end that we would go with as our pick in the 1st round, and possibly maybe an offensive tackle. Evan Neal, I believe, right tackle out of Alabama. Didn't know if what you guys' opinions were on that. Yeah.
No, I want to hit it.
Yeah, I'm definitely not too familiarized with the prospects yet, but in terms of positions, like I think it would. I don't think there would be any issue with going O-line for the 3rd year in a row and just completing, the rebuild of this line, because there are still going to be holes on it going into next year. Are you going to be sold on George Fant after this year? If you have the opportunity to upgrade over him / Morgan Moses, by all means, you do that. Are you going to be sold on Connor McGovern? We still don't know what he's going to do this year. Struggled in the 1st game, looked a lot better in the 2nd game, but he has to prove that he can get back to that Denver top 10 level. Then obviously you still need a right guard. You have nothing there. So I would have no problems going O-line for the 3rd year in a row. Edge, I think, I don't know. I mean, if you're in position to get, Kayvon Thibodeaux, then absolutely you do that. I don't know if they are going to end up high enough to get him. But I think, that would be a BPA sort of pick, but you're going to have Lawson. You're going to have JFM. You're going to have Huff. So you're just going to have Shaq Lawson. So I think they'll have a lot of edge talent. Corner is a position that could be on the table, but, so far it looks like you would assume that, being realistic, Eccles probably won't hold up the whole season, and you won't come out this year with 3 starters with Carter, Eccles, and Hall. So corner could be on the table if one of these guys doesn't maintain what they've done so far. But yeah, I would look at the offensive line. A safety could be a need. But will be a need if Marcus May doesn't stick around. But I'm looking at the offensive line. I honestly would love to just keep attacking it until you have that thing just totally fortified.
Yeah, in terms of the picks, like it's for me personally, like obviously we're really focused on the NFL with running the website, Nania. So we have to do a lot of NFL stuff. So I'm not like looking at a ton of the college guys. And like my thing with college too is like so much can change from now until December, January. Like again, I was ranked like Sean Wade, supposed to be a first round corner, top 10 pick, fell into the 5th round from the start of the year to the end of the year. So I'm not really looking into these guys, but I agree. Offensive line, defensive end, I would be okay with. Tight end, guard, like there's plenty that they need. So it's not really a good answer, to be completely honest, because I haven't looked into enough of these guys. One, to know exactly what they offer, and I don't like to just kind of say things I'm not really sure about. One, and two, we don't know who's going to finish where in terms of prospect rankings, where they're going to fall on the board, and three, we don't know what we're going to address in free agency. So you might be looking at Evan Neal, but let's say I don't know, whoever the guy's name is, Joe Saber is the right tackle in free agency, who the Jets bring in. They sign him. Now Evan Neal's not there. So I'm honestly not looking into it too much. I think it is really, really early. But obviously with Thibodeau and being what he is now, if the Jets were in position to draft him, if they are the number 2 pick, a quarterback goes 1 or 2 or 3, whatever, and they're there to pick him, he's probably the pick right now, but I'm just not sure on the other prospects. So I'm not really answering your question, to be completely honest, caller, but is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, man, it's all good. I get it. Yeah, it's way too early. I remember Sean Wade being a first-round prospect as well, and yeah, that we saw how that turned out. So anything can happen, but appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the most wild chat we've had, Nania, in terms of the people who are in here. Just the world is ending. Moore can't separate. One, didn't watch his college stuff. Did you see the speed out he ran, by the way, this game? Beautiful speed out where he caught it on the ground. Created really well there, where the guy had outside leverage. He had to race to the outside because you can't run a speed out with a guy versus with outside leverage with the corner. So he had to race to the outside, held his line, pushed up, broke out, snapped it off within a half a yard. Terrific route. Then a guy is telling me, "Oh, well, you talk about the Alabama game, him getting hit. Show me every game where he likes to get hit." I'm sorry that I cannot pull up highlights of Elijah Moore just sprinting into a linebacker asking to get smacked. But I've seen him plenty of times in college catching balls over the middle and taking massive shots. So it's not like he alligator arm stuff. So some of the things that people are saying are just straight up false in the chat right now. It is absolutely wild. Some like Kev, Mo, I'm sorry, but you guys are the woats right now, the worst of all times. I'm sorry. I don't care if I alienate 2 people from our channel. It's just really bad. Would you be able to chime in on tight end play and our future options? And so people are talking about Mac Jones and Sam Darnold playing better. What was Mac Jones' average depth of target this week, Donnie? Like 4 yards?
Like 4 yards.
Which is dreadful. So yes, Mac Jones and Sam Darnold can check it down to James White and Christian McCaffrey and take everything underneath. Congratulations. I am so excited for their future. Like let's be realistic here, guys. It is crazy. And in terms of Mims too, like the quick thing I'm going to say about that, yes, I think they've done that. I think Andrew Golden's in here actually. So throw your article out there. Like just like a simple thing, like the most simple thing. Okay, versus Tampa 2, you have Mims who's breaking inside, and if it's Tampa 2 and if he sees that linebacker retreating, he's going to sit it down like a snag. Now if it's a base cover 2 and he's just staying in that like intermediate hook, now he's to break it back outside. So if he's not knowing the playbook right, he doesn't know he's supposed to do it and supposed to break outside. Maybe Zach Wilson goes to throw it outside shoulder because he sees that linebacker sitting, and that's what he's reading because he knows the route concepts. He knows the playbook. Mims doesn't break back to the outside, and now it's a pick because Mims didn't know the right route. So I think to a certain extent, it is easy to say, yes, get Mims in the field, and I think there is an instance where they can just run him on a 9 route, whatever it may be. But to think that's as simple as offense, okay, run a slant, run an over on this concept, it's so much more involved in that people do not have any idea about. So while I get it, I'm trying to go from the other angle too, where if he doesn't know the playbook, it could be difficult to get him on the field. But Andrew said Mac had 2 air yards per completion. He has all screens, dump offs. Like if that's impressing you, and he's better than Zach Wilson because of that, and because Zach Wilson, listen, a lot of respect for Saleh, but I am taking Bill Belichick versus a rookie quarterback with his average air targets moved at like 9 yards. It's like double Mac's air yards. And when Mac Jones did have to throw down the field or get out of the pocket this game, he wasn't impressive to me. So because he can dump it off the checkdowns.
On the flea flicker where they had the the touchdown open and he threw the shorter one. What'd you think of that one? Do you think he should have had that deep throw? I thought he should have taken that shot.
Yeah. Again, that's where like a good quarterback versus like an Andy Dalton game manager, Alex Smith type guy, a good quarterback. I think it was like Eccles. His eyes were treating inside or whatever it might have been. Yeah. He was beat by a good 3, 4, 5 yards. He had over the top leverage. Aaron Rodgers, Mahomes, any top half of the league quarterback makes that throw. Mac Jones takes a wide open over because it's the easy throw, but that's not going to win you games when it comes down to it in the future. Now against the Jets, who have a shitload of holes and a rookie quarterback who's getting absolutely destroyed by a veteran coach, yes, take that throw. But in the future, playoffs, good teams, that's not going to win them games. So yes, he beat up on flat routes and curls and screens against the Jets. Like, congrats. But I'm going to get away from the chat a little bit unless there's a super chat, unless there's something knowledgeable in there. Motivated tape, bro. Route running is Moore's route running is elite. He only played 2 games. Yes, his route running in college was elite. It was very, 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 very good. But moving on, rest of the teams get to hit on that. I can only go till 8 on some of these nights. Some of them I'll be able to go a little bit later, but when I have work, I have to do it. So we're gonna hit on the rest of the offense. Go offensive line. What were your thoughts on the offensive line?
Yeah, the O-line was a lot better in this game, especially in the run game. I feel like for the most part, Van Roten is probably still the worst in the run game, but he wasn't as bad as in the run game as he was in pass protection. But everyone else was really good. You could just, even on first watch, being in the stadium, if you were watching on TV, I'm sure you saw it. Just the movement was there every single time. It was just easy 2 yards at least. The running backs did a good job getting more out of it. So from left to right, I think Griffin was better in this game. He was awful against the Panthers. Talking about the tight ends, and he was better. But I've been really impressed with AVT in the run game. I think he's been great. He was great against the Panthers. He's great in this game. And just a variety of ways that he makes blocks, whether he's pulling, whether it's outside zone. He's done a lot of stuff really well. So he's got to improve in pass protection, I think, a little bit. He's given up some pressures, but in the run game, I mean, he's been great, I think.
Yeah. I think Fant played okay at left tackle. He gave up a couple pressures that I wasn't really thrilled about. I'm not even gonna. I'm ignoring the chat. I'm gonna turn it off at this point. We have really stupid stuff in there. A guy saying we can't prove what we're talking about. We have hours and hours and hours of film out there on Elijah Moore. So again, feel free to go contest it. One play you think I'm wrong about, guarantee you will not do it. But continuing on, Fant averaged this game, let up a couple pressures. AVT in the run game has been a freak. Some of those reach blocks, whether it be backside, front side, really, really good this game in terms of like losing to gain, getting that positional leverage, getting that backside hand into the V of the neck, and then working that first contact as a pivot point to get that positional leverage, getting his hips around, getting his feet around. Really good job. McGovern, for the most part, played well. There was one stump pickup, which was a little bit sketchy, but still he played good. GVR was obviously terrible. That goes without saying. And then Moses, for the most part, was good. So after a dreadful week 1, they looked like what we thought they would be kind of before the season, like around an average-ish unit. And I thought they were that this game. Moving on to the tight ends and let's do the skill positions. Tight ends, receivers, running backs. Any kind of big thoughts on those guys?
Yeah, well, the tight ends, I mean, I think this is my biggest criticism with them this offseason, that they didn't value tight end more if they were going to insist on using it so much. Because like you said earlier, it's not real. It doesn't line up with the talent on the roster to run so much 12 personnel when, you're putting Ryan Griffin on the field instead of Keelan Cole, or Croft on the field instead of Cole. So I definitely think that, they could have addressed it more aggressively if they were going to insist on using it so much. But first game, Griffin was really terrible. And I think he was as much to blame as any offensive lineman for the issues they're having. Second game, I think he's a little bit better. But Croft was a little bit worse in this game, I think. I feel like he missed a few blocks in the run game. He also had that huge drop on a great throw from Wilson. So tight end's hurting them, I think. I mean, Croft should be okay throughout the season. You could see after the catch, he has, some underrated sort of, he can create a little bit after the catch. And he's a decent route runner. And the blocking should be good for the most part, even though he struggled in this game. So Croft will be okay. But I feel like, in an offense like this that runs a lot of 2 tight ends, ideally he's your second guy and you have, a really good go-to number 1 tight end. But right now you've Croft as your number 1 and Griffin, who's a liability at number 2. So I feel like they should have tried to make a bigger move at tight end if they're going to use it so much.
Yeah, for sure. And I completely agree with that. And that's something that we have to address in the future. Like it's a huge need right now because you look at all the productive, not even productive tight ends that the Shanahan system has. It's more of like the emphasis on tight ends. And like you said, like I'm comfortable with Croft being like tight end 2. Like it's not ideal, but him as a tight end 2, I'm cool with it. Even though he had a couple blown blocks this game, he had to drop along the sideline. But I think him being that is okay. But as a tight end 1, you just don't want to have it. So I think tight end is a major need going into the years, into future years, whether that be a bigger free agent signing, or relatively higher draft pick, maybe first 2-3 rounds, and then you develop that guy. But it's a big need. Receiver, again, Davis got shut down versus Belichick. Wow, I'm shocked. And then you have Moore, who I was happy with this game. He only had 4 catches, 47 yards or 45 yards.
Yeah, something like that.
If Zach hits him in stride, not on the sideline, probably a touchdown. So now you're looking at 4 catches, 70 yards, and a touchdown. And just because, again, no offense to you, Nani, at all, because you were the stats guy, you know how to put stats out there. But because people type in Elijah Moore stats, 4 catches, 47 yards,
Yep.
Oh, terrible game, because they're all about the final result. But people aren't about the process. So now you look at that. Now those same people, Elijah Moore stats, is he a bust? He can't take hits. He can't run routes. Now they see 4 catches, 75 yards, and a touchdown. Like, wow, he had a good game. Just because of a result of something that wasn't Elijah Moore, or the process that wasn't Elijah Moore that led to him not having those yards. So now, like, it's people, dude. I fight that every day.
There was even a play in the Panthers in the Panthers game. I don't know if you remember, but he beat Jeremy Chin on a deep ball that could have been like an 80-yard touchdown, or at least a big gain. Wilson checked it down to Johnson. I think it was a throw he could have made, but you could see the check down. But Moore doing his job toasted Moore or Jeremy Chin. The separation has been there. He's going to put up his numbers at some point. And even if he doesn't, that's just not in his control. All he can do is separate, win his routes, and he's doing that really well so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So and I'm trying to remember that exact play. I can't think off the top of my head, but no, he's been fun. He had a big drop, and people now he's a bust because of that big drop down the field. You have Crowder coming back. I like Crowder again. Cole, I think, is a good role player. This game, he wasn't used really at all or targeted. I didn't really see him a lot, so that was kind of odd. But yeah, I'm happy with where the wide receivers are going. I think they're going to pour some more assets into that next year. But let's say it's not a bigger free agent, but like a middle tier free agent or a draft pick next year. You have Davis, Moore, one of Crowder or Cole, Mims if he develops, and another receiver. Like, that's a good group. And I think for like Barrios too, should he be a starting slot receiver? Should he have 7 catches and 11 targets, whatever? Probably not. But for a depth guy, I'm happy with Barrios for sure. People talking about tight ends too. Yoshi said, bummed we didn't get Gerald Everett or Jonnu Smith. Yeah, them not addressing tight end was it bummed me out a little bit too, because it's an emphasis of this offense. So that does suck a little bit. OJ Howard, I'll be down a trade like a later round pick for him. Stats about context are just numbers. Yeah, Andrew, Nani knows that better than anybody. He's the stats guy of stats guys on Twitter, and in general, I'm getting like freaking articles written about him, and he knows stats need context, because if you don't, it's crazy. So just to type in stats and say, okay, perfect example, like, and I brought this up a lot with Sam Darnold. Like Sam Darnold, Sharon Peak hits Sharon Peak on a slant over the middle, hits Sharon Peak in the chest. It's an interception. Based on the process, it was a good throw, good location, but because you can type in the stats, okay, that was a bad play because of the final result, because it's a pick. Is it a bad play, or did he hit Sharon Peak and he dropped it? And obviously there's a lot more context to every play than just that, but for simplicity's sake, that's what I'm kind of bringing up. So to say that, Moore only had 4 catches, 45, like whatever stats you're bringing up, you need context. The process is so much more important than results to me. I can't even emphasize it enough. But moving on to the defense, we got about 45 minutes left. We'll hit some questions and stuff after that. One of the guys got banned again. I'm cool with banter. Just don't spam the chat with stuff that's, if you want to throw out a stupid opinion, fine. I would like to see more arguments than just, he's bad or he's terrible. That's not our argument. You're just saying something. 1 and 2, guy criticized the channel or whatever, but if only you knew what we knew. That's all I'll say. Moving on to the defense. Do you want to start back to the front, or do you want to start from the front to the back, Nania, for the defense?
Let's go front to back. I guess we'll start with the defensive line.
Front to back. Okay, go ahead.
So yeah, I feel like since the loss of Carl Lawson, that he's opened the door for some guys to pick up the slack a little bit, and the returns have been mostly good. I feel like Bryce Huff has been solid. The sack that Marcus May had, that was Bryce Huff creating that pressure, making Mac Jones step up into it. So he's been solid. JFM's moved to the edge and been I think as good as we've hoped for. Shaq Lawson hasn't really done anything in the passing game yet, but his run defense has been great. Like you talked about, it's more the run game where he makes his impact. So edge has been good. Interior D-line. I like Foley in this scheme. Like, I feel like a lot of people talked about him as not a scheme fit, but he's a guy who he's not like, he can eat up space, but he's really explosive. He gets off the ball and he penetrates. So I feel like he's taking advantage of that. And there were a couple times where they used it against him, ran towards him. But for the most part, like he can explode off the ball, but he can still contort back to it and make the tackles. So I feel like he has really taken advantage of this scheme. And Quinton Williams, I feel like I think he's been this is a year we want to see him take that step towards being, top 3 to 5 defensive tackle. And he hasn't quite been that so far, but I feel like he's done his job pretty well. He's had created some pressures. The big plays haven't been there yet, but there's one play I posted where I believe it was Hall blew a coverage, left Hunter Henry wide open. Should have been a touchdown, but Q beats the left guard, makes Mac Jones scramble. He misses a touchdown, and he spikes the ball into the ground for intentional grounding. And I'll take that over a sack any day of the week. A saved touchdown into grounding,
I was thinking
that's impact right there.
We're talking about Q and impact, and then I was thinking about the tweet you put out, and somebody tagged me in it, like all the dumb responses where you got were like Q beat whoever that was so badly against the Panthers to close the screen. Yeah. So, and I'm gonna hit this real quick before kind of responding to your thing, or before hitting on the defensive line. Misery AD said, if you think Wilson's a bust, you're nuts. Yes, correct. Second game against Bill Belichick, home opener. Mikey Mullis says, how many of Wilson's interceptions do you put directly on him? It's being talked about a little bit, so I want to hit that. I think we're going to agree. But what is your answer?
Yeah, I would say 2, the latter 2.
Yeah. I would say 2 and you know what? I'm gonna say 3, to be honest. The third one with Moore on the corner, again, better timing, more touch, completion. That was his fault. He didn't throw it as soon as he did, and the footwork was bad. Fourth one, you could say wrong route. I think it's an easy thing to say because I think when the ball gets chucked up there and it looks like a punt, it's really easy to just blame it on wrong route. But even if somebody ran the right route, it wasn't going to be open. There was nothing open there. So that was Wilson's fault. And the first one, based on leverage, you can't throw a back shoulder ball or whatever it was, a snag, a curl, a stop when the receiver's in trail and playing the shoulder you're throwing to. It's just a bad decision. It's just you can't throw that ball versus that leverage. Is it terrible? No, but you forced it. It was 2nd and 3. It didn't need to be there. You could check the ball down, dirt it, or not check it down, but dirt it, take a sack, whatever it is. But you can't force the ball in that situation. So I'm gonna put 3, to be honest. But with that being said, I don't think these are. It would be more concerning. Like it looked like he was rattled and it was bad. It was bad footwork. It was lack of trigger. It wasn't like he was getting confused with robbers or guys peeling off or different coverages. So it's not as concerning as it would be if it was more mental kind of. And he had a couple of good throws this game too. He had plenty of bad throws, but those 2 dots he threw on the sideline were absolutely ridiculous. The one where I couldn't say 99%, I couldn't say 100% sure, but the one it was cover 2. And he looked off the cloud, he peeked really quickly to the route in the flat, and then threw a ball fading away to Braxton Berrios. I think it was Braxton Berrios Braxton Berrios
was the earlier one, and then Jeff Smith was the one after that.
Yeah. So and then Jeff Smith, he ran a blaze out, which is it almost looks like a post corner, just a couple less steps. It's a blaze out, and he just knew based on leverage that Jeff Smith was going to have kind of vertical leverage on the corner. And he threw a ball, and you see Jeff Smith turn for it and look toward the sideline and have to adjust to the ball. Oh shit! Okay, he actually threw it vertically because of the corner and trail. So he has good plays, and he struggled against Bill Belichick. Colored me freaking shocked. I'm not surprised. So to say he's a bust coming from BYU, and that whole argument about who he played it's a little bit overemphasized. But going from playing Coastal Carolina to playing Bill Belichick's Patriots, it's quite a large jump to make. So is he going to struggle? Yeah. Is he going to improve? Hell yeah. So let's not get crazy again. Richard, someone just shown in, Jets fan since 1968. Joe Willie told everyone to keep Sam Darnold. Okay, we're not even getting to that because he's checking down. Moving on. Yeah, the bomb adjustments was insanity. Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, Meg Corner. I saw his cover too. I forget the top of my head, but nonetheless, the defensive line, Shaq Lawson. Watching that back, like he not only did he play well in the run game at certain aspects, like he dominated some plays in the run game.
Yeah.
I highlighted at least 3 or 4 of those in the show I just recorded. I was pretty thrilled with him, and I said it in his review. Really good run stuffer, average at best pass rusher, and that's what we saw. He didn't provide anything. He had one big hit on Mac Jones on like I don't know if it was a screen or it was a short dump off. He smacked him, but really good in the run game. JFM is obviously playing really well at the end right now, so that's a massive positive. Like you said with Fadokasi, he had that one really quick penetration like that wham run, and it's like a magic handoff. I know you put that somewhere. It was on Twitter or highlight or something. I forget, but
that was a good play.
Yeah, he's playing really well because like while he's not the most like fleet of foot and he's not Quinnen Williams, he's not I'm going to put Aaron Donald and Quinnen Williams together or Fletcher Cox, not one of those guys, but you ask Fadokasi to get into under guys' pads and just drive him backwards to create penetration or to blow a guy backwards, like he's going to do it. So he's been creating some pressure. He's been playing well. Huff, I didn't have like a too focused of an eye on him. He didn't really produce a lot this game. He had like 1 or 2 rushes and hits, top of my head. But overall, Fadokasi, Lawson, and JFM are playing well. And then, like I did with Q, I would like to sit down and like really focus on this because the problem is when you're watching 11 on 11, you're really focusing like everywhere. But to my eye, what I'm watching for Q, yes, do I want to see him win more? 100%. Is he getting pressures? Is he affecting plays? Yes, in a similar aspect, or yes, as well. To me, it looks like a lot of slides, and he's getting a lot of like double teams initially, like whether it be a combo block, whether it be them, specifically sliding to his sides. He's seeing a lot of 2 blockers in a play, which yes, for a guy who we want to say, okay, he should take that leap into that top 3 to top 5 range. Should he beat that? 100 more often than he is, I think so. But again, no preseason, coming off of foot surgery. You have to stay realistic with your expectations. So I'm slightly disappointed with Q. At this point, I want to see more impact plays, but to say he's playing bad right now is false as well. Anything else we should touch on for the defensive line?
No, I think for the most part we hit it. And with Q too, like it's just 2 games. And like even from a sacks perspective, like if you get 8 sacks, that's half of your games. So if you have 2 games without a sack, it's not the end of the world. So if he maintains this level of play the whole season, that's a little disappointing. But I think he's doing his job pretty well. Hopefully he can explode a little bit more as the season goes on.
Andrew, Barrios' catch was covered too. Smith catch was against the combo coverage with Meg on Smith, man everywhere he goes. Top of my head, I don't necessarily remember. I thought that might have been 2-2. I forget. I'd have to watch to tell you, okay, if it's Meg or cover 2, which Meg and cover 2 zone when he breaks into a 5 to 7 to 10 yard curl, it can look like the same thing. So I forget off the top of my head. Mr. Bonesy, Love Carter runs hard. Oh yeah, we even touched on Michael Carter too. Let's go back to the running backs really quick. Let's veer our path back to the offense because we didn't touch on the running backs. Michael Carter, I thought he looked really patient, hit holes well, contact balance was there. Really like this game. Coleman, there's a couple plays. He overstrides and he cannot break down quick. Like if there's a guy who does not expect within 2-3 yards of him, he runs right into him because he does not cut back. Ty Johnson, I said on the show, to be honest, and he could develop. To me right now, he's more of a 3rd running back than a 1A or 1B. I think Carter could be a 1A or 1B. I don't think Ty Johnson's that guy to me. I think he runs hard. I think he's underrated power. But in terms of his vision, it's not completely there for me. There was a play where
I was going to ask you because I feel like for the most part watching Johnson this year, he's just been going straight downhill without too much thought of cutting it back, bouncing it out. Like he's just going hard without much vision to his game.
Yeah. Joe Blue is a man. I don't care what he did to those puppies. I don't know what I did to those puppies either. But yeah, he runs hard, runs downhill. But like, again, with zone, you need patience. And there was a run specifically where like, it's not only hitting the right gap, it's also hitting the right gap with the right spatial awareness. And there's a play, I forget exactly, it's a mid-outside zone, whatever it was, and he pressed the outside, which was fine at first. But then a cutback lane opened because of AVT, and McGovern killed on the backside. And he presses the front side, which is fine. But then he kind of cuts it up too close to a defender who's being blocked. And if he were to stay a little bit more patient, read it a little bit more patiently with like more like condensed footwork, he could have, it sounds right, but he could have banged the run and hit a hole that was there for at least what looked like a 15, 20 yard gain. And instead he took a run, the run like 5 to 7 yards. So it's about spatial awareness in terms of your cuts too. And it's about footwork, it's about patience, about pressing outside to get inside to get outside. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. And to me, he looks like a running back who runs hard, who has good physical capabilities. But in terms of him being a guy I want to rely on consistently, I don't personally see that with him. I see that with Carter being a 1A, 1B. I want to see another guy in here eventually, maybe not next year, but when the Jets are really looking to compete, that final piece, more of like a guy who could split it with Michael Carter. I'm cool with. I'm not a big fan of Coleman. Ty Johnson's all right. I just think that people maybe overrate him a little bit because like the Raiders game, like we watched that game plenty of times, Nanya, and how many of those plays were like really like yes, that he ran well. How many of those plays were him just like hitting a wide open hole and him just his speed taking over? It's like he was making great plays and he's doing his job hitting the holes that are there. But in terms of creating for himself, like good number one running backs, number two running backs do, he's kind of a take what's there guy, which is important too. But none the less. Let's see if there's anything else in the chat. Okay, moving on from defensive line. The linebackers, Quincy Williams, Hamza played a reduced role in this game. BJ Goodson didn't see the field, didn't retire. I don't know what was up with that. But overall thoughts on the linebackers.
Yeah, well, first of all, Mosley was great. So this is, reminiscent of that Bills game. Like the takeaways weren't there, but just the all-around dominance, blowing up screens. He was great against screens, just like navigating the blocks at the second level. Against the run, filled his gaps, made tackles. The play he made at the end of the game, and it was garbage time, where he broke up that slant, and he was just he just did a great job reading it. He was completely not fooled by the play fake and broke that one up. That was a great play. So he was all around great. But the position next to him is definitely a weakness. I think Quincy Williams was pretty bad, honestly. He made that one big tackle behind the line. But other than that, I feel like he missed a couple tackles, wasn't great in coverage. And a lot of the big run plays they gave up, he was a big part of a lot of them. So I feel like they still have a weakness at that second linebacker spot.
Yeah, I'm going to hit the phone really quick before I get to the linebacker. It's Rusty Spooner, I'm pretty sure, unless I didn't pick it up right. Rusty, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing?
Doing all right. I'm ready for you to bring some hot takes right here because I know you like to spit it a little bit.
Well, I was happy with Moore actually this week. I don't even think he dropped a pass. I really don't. Every time he was thrown to him and he touched it, or compared to last week where he was basically over. But it's good. It seemed like everybody sort of got it together, except for Zach had his hiccup. He had his rookie moment. So, and there's gonna be plenty of those. That's what I see. But I'm cool with it. I just look back at how all the other rookies, as soon as you threw them into the fire, used to be. You don't get them all like you don't hit it every single time and let people take off running like Ben Roethlisberger or, Luck or people like that situation. So,
yeah. And
I just think Jets fans and media need to cool it.
Yeah, and trust me, that's been like the theme of the chat. People need to cool it. I know you've been around for a little bit, so you've seen plenty of Jets football and team building and things like that. So what are your thoughts on Joe Douglas? Does he need to be fired right now? Get rid of him, bring back in John Izek or Mike McCagnon? Is he doing a terrible job?
Hell no. I like Joe. And, he just got the injury bug card is what it is. He's not going out there getting injury-prone guys. I like it's funny how they say that when he really isn't. People want to say that Zach was hurt. Zach wasn't hurt. He had something that happened during his, freshman year in college. And they try to overthrow it. The kid gets, sidewalk slammed and helmet to helmet. The refs don't call it. He gets up and throws a touchdown 2 plays later, when we played the Panthers. Mm-hmm. So And, he took his lumps and bruises like a man this week, too, even though it was mostly interceptions. The O-line held up. I couldn't believe how much better they looked, actually. That was pretty crazy to me, and especially against the Patriots because, Bill was coming for everybody. And the D started off hot, simmered down a little bit, but, the secondary showed up again 2 weeks in a row. And I'm liking it. And then All Day May came and laid the wood and was all over the field. He was like a goddamn maniac. That'd be funny and ironic if he, broke Jamal's sack record this year. Just, if they send him on 9 blitzes throughout the whole season, and if he breaks it, that'd be hilarious. And while having interceptions too. But, all around it's good. The only thing I have an issue with is LaFleur, especially when he's play calling, because he never holds the, like the sheet over his mouth or nothing. So people can read him all over the place. And I don't know, I'd say throw him in the booth and see how he does in there. Not like a dick move or anything, but, he's sort of, I don't know why, it drives me absolutely insane. You can tell that they're reading it too. Like they're reading his calls or reading, it's like CIA when you come to the NFL. All of a sudden you're out there and you have all these eyes on you. You don't even know where, people are looking and scouting. It's pretty crazy.
And if there's one team to have binoculars on the sideline,
Oh, yeah. It's Billa cheat and shit like that. So, But I just, all the real Jeff fans, we've been through, a lot worse. And at least you could see, like, on the horizon. It's dark right now. But each week it's, the first week it was, we had a dog shit offense. We'll be real about it. Well, offensive line. Zach was running for his life. And then they stepped it up week 2, and then after that second, half in Carolina, that's what got me excited about it. I had a little grin. I was like, okay, it's going to be this type of season. It's going to, it might be like how the Colts were in 98. Who knows? It was pretty cool what happened in 99. And it was, Peyton took his lumps and bruises and got blessed by the NFL and came out of it. The same thing happened with Elway. And that's sort of what Zach looks like to me. He looks like John Elway. Don't mean to compare a legend and everything like that, but how he is, his height, his weight, they're identical. I think I might be off like a quarter inch on his height. And I don't know, they have that same mentality, and he just goes out there. It's not like a gunslinger. He's trying to force it. He's trusting his arm, which is actually a good thing. But, he's just going to have to get blessed by fire. That's it. And then take him in stride, and thank God he's a book rat, So he just gets in there and just reads and looks at plays.
Yeah, you definitely want a quarterback who's more aggressive than too conservative. It's easier to coach the over-aggressiveness out of a quarterback than it is to teach a conservative quarterback to be more aggressive. So he's going to have to hone some stuff in 100%. But I think for the most part, this game, he just looked uncomfortable and was trying to press because of how the game started. And it is what it is. He got picked off. He tried to force a ball. Mm-hmm. It's going to happen with a rookie quarterback. But in terms of like the game and, the Panthers game, like you said, like sidewalk slammed, he got absolutely smacked that game. Got back up, throwing touchdowns, getting out of the pocket, creating for himself. Like he looked really good that game based on the situation he was afforded. And then past that, this game, like you said, like the offensive line struggled week 1, week 2, complete rebound. And like minus a position here or there, and considering the defense has no Joyner, has no Jared Davis, has no Carl Lawson, for the entire team to play as well as they did, like I was impressed, and especially considering all the capital we have to pour into the team next year. Because like if you look at the rest of the team, minus Zach Wilson, like which group really, really struggled this week, and you're looking at the youngest team in the NFL with a ton of capital. So like, yes, Zach Wilson struggled against Bill Belichick. I am not shocked. It's going to happen. Everybody says it. Everybody preaches before the season when it's not actually going through it, that it's going to be a roller coaster ride. And they love the highs when the lows get lows, or the lows get low. Everybody talks about, okay, get rid of these guys. Zach's the bust, even though they preached that before the season. They just can't handle it when it actually comes. So you're preaching to yourself something that you're not actually following. So it drives me absolutely crazy. So yes, he struggled. Is he going to struggle like this against Vic Fangio next week? Maybe. But is he going to have those high highs against the Jaguars, the Bengals, maybe the Dolphins, the Bills, whoever it is? Is there going to be games where he throws 3-4 touchdowns? I believe so at the same time. So you have to accept that when you see the bad. And yes, the bad has come a little bit early in week 2, but let's not jump off the cliff. It's way too early. But before we let you go, because we have to get to a couple other positions and do the game preview before 8 o'clock, I just want to get your quick opinion on the Broncos game and get a score prediction from you. So go ahead.
I don't want to do the score predictions anymore. I'm highly superstitious, but I don't know. It could go either way. But the thing that I do like is that, Zach's used to that high mountain air. He played at BYU, so that's a positive. Usually, people will get gassed and cooked up there. You're not used to it and everything. So that's what. And plus, you could throw it a little bit farther, kick it a little bit farther. I don't know. I'd like to have a little shit-eating grin, on my face this week. That'd be pretty good. So.
Do you think we have a chance?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
But I just can't do the score things. I don't want to jinx us, and I'm beyond superstitious. So
I
can't
get it,
do that
Rusty.
anymore.
Definitely appreciate the call. Definitely appreciate the support, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you soon.
Absolutely, you guys are awesome, Joe and Mike. So I'll talk to you guys soon, man.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Always appreciate it, Rusty. So Nani, going back to the linebackers and people talking about Cashman, that's and that's something we talked about prior to the season was like, and again, there's holes: tight end, right guard, linebacker, safety, corner. We have capital, but with linebacker, I remember doing the 53-man roster prediction with Kyle Smith, and we were talking about how many they're going to carry. And Cashman's already injured. I don't even know what play he got injured on. He sprints his first time in a real game action, and he just rips up his hamstrings. He cannot be relied on. Davis is out, and now you're looking at, and Sherwood's out. So you're looking at a linebacking core of Quincy Williams, who just got cut. Goodson, he's gone now. Delshawn Phillips, Noah Dawkins didn't play yet, but a bunch of nobodies. But for the most part, I know Quincy Williams wasn't great, but I don't think he looked for my expectations of him not looking absolutely completely out of place was a positive. And then Mosley, absolute stud this game. I don't know what he was ranked. I don't know PFF. I don't know any of this stuff. I can tell you week 1, he wasn't as bad as his numbers indicated or whatever was out there. I can tell you that week 2, that was throwback to CJ Mosley. That's what we signed him to be. His diagnosing of screens, his diagnosing of route concepts, the one play where they did that play action, he just stood super pat. Got the deflection. I forget if it was like he was in a hole or if it was a hook. I forget exactly what coverage he was in. But sideline to sideline, defeating blocks, lateral athleticism, the ability to tackle. I was super enthused with CJ Mosley. Past that, not really a ton of talk about. But I know you hit on Mosley, but I guess hit on him again since we went to Rusty. But I was thrilled, and I think that's the CJ Mosley we signed him to be.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's exactly who you want him to be. Just the all-around game that he brings, the fact that he can contribute against the pass and against the run is huge. And just everything you mentioned, the instincts are great. He knows where to be, when to be there. Diagnosing the screens is probably the most impressive thing he did. It was at least twice in this game, at least one in the Panthers game. He's been blowing them up this year. So that's great to see. The coverage has been, and like you said, I think PFF gave him a terrible grade against the Panthers. I thought that was ridiculous. He wasn't as great in that game as he was in this one, but he got beat on an angle route against McCaffrey, and that's about it. So he's been really good. He's being the player that they paid him to be, which is huge because he's going to be here next year. They can't get rid of him unless they want to take an enormous cap hit. And he's still signed for 2 more years after that, and which ideally he plays well enough to where you're willing to pay him that much. So it's important that he plays well. He's going to be around. So he played really good in this game.
Yeah, and there was a few plays too. I can imagine with how much these teams were dinking and dunking the Jets. If Mosley wasn't so quick to recognize these screens and things like that, we'd be getting absolutely gashed. Yes, We're getting gashed to a certain extent underneath, but this defense for what it's. I know we played Mac Jones, Sam Darnold, dump off Kings, but based on what we thought of them going to the year and then plus the injuries, they've been really impressive. And Mosley's a big part of that and limiting those screens and things like that. And past screens, there was a couple, I'm forgetting exactly, maybe traps or whams or powers, whatever it was in this game. He was diagnosing really, really quickly, whether that be the backfield, him looking at the mesh point, him keying guard to guard, whatever he's keying, on certain plays. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but doing a really good job there. And I think Jared Davis coming back is another obviously positive. He was signed for a relatively big contract. So I am really happy with Mosley. And then moving to the second level, Rusty talked about it. Marcus May, first game, I thought he was okay. I actually put him in. I don't think he was great the first game. This game, really good man coverage. I forget it was like an out against like a tight end. He did a really good job. Tight end pushed off. He did a really good job pulling himself through with his outside hand, chopping down on the arms. That was a good play. He had a couple of good tackles. Like I thought Marcus May was pretty good. And then in terms of what is it, Adrian Colbert, whatever it is, 33? Yeah. So again, not great, but for where we got him like a week ago on the scrap heap, like I think he played okay, better than Sheldrick Redwine. That's for sure. Yeah. So what are your thoughts about moving to the secondary, specifically with the safeties? I'm really disappointed Joyner is gone. I think maybe fans were overhyping him in general. But still rather have him than Redwine. And I'm really excited for Davis to come back. And while I think he's raw, and I think he, without all this training camp and preseason, et cetera, he will still struggle. I'm much more excited to watch him than Colbert or Redwine or any one of these guys who's going to be playing reps. But in terms of May, I was definitely happy with him this game.
Yeah, May played a good game this week. But the biggest thing for me with May this season is, we've seen him play in this strong safety role for 7 games now, I believe. The first 5 last year, the first 2 this year. And this year is a little bit different than last year. I feel like Greg had him playing a lot more of a Jamal Adams-esque role where he was even more aggressive than he's been this year in terms of where he's lining up. It's a little bit different, but, still more box-centric. And it's been up and down. He's had great games like this one, the season opener against the Bills last year. And he's had games like the Panthers game where he missed some tackles and wasn't that great. So I'm interested to see how consistent he can be week to week in this role, because I feel like he's going to have a lot of games like this where he's great, and he's also going to have some games where he misses big tackles. So I'm interested to see if he can be consistent in this role. And then, like you said, I think Joyner's a big loss. Maybe he wasn't going to be great, but I feel like just to have a guy who was there the whole offseason, a veteran, instead of guys off the scrap heap at a position, probably the number one position that can lose you a game the quickest on defense. It can hurt. And we saw it in the Panthers game with Redwine giving up the touchdown to Robbie. So, you just put Joyner in there. You don't give up that touchdown to Robbie. How different is that Panthers game? So that's a big loss. And I feel like that'll hurt. So for Ashtyn Davis to come back whenever he does, I feel like it'll, be a potential boost if he can take that leap, if he can make the progress that you've talked about from a mental, fundamental standpoint. But Marcus May in this game, I think, showed you the ceiling of what he can be in this role. But he's got to be more consistent, because in the games that he has played in this role, that the tackling for the most part, I think, is the biggest thing, because he had a couple misses in the first game.
Yeah, and
he's got to be more consistent.
I don't know if you lost connection. You're breaking up a little bit there, so I apologize. But yeah, and with Davis too, about tackling. And at Cal, watching him, he was a guy who would stare at the quarterback the entire time, not properly leverage himself over route concepts. And he was a guy who would break on a route as the quarterback was throwing it. And we know at the NFL level, that's too late. So there's some things mentally he has to kind of get in check. And but based on his athleticism, he's a project, but I think he could be a starter. Just watching what he was in college, we knew it was going to take some time. So now you compound that with him being injured and not seeing preseason and no camp last year. It might take an extra year or two. Same thing for Mims. Mims in a full off season last year, not being injured, etc. He might be farther along than where he is now. But I actually wanted to talk about this with Mosley too. I forgot to bring it up. I remember literally talking about it in my show, and I'm going to bring it up with Naya tonight. In terms of Mosley in the future, obviously this year you're not getting rid of him. He is, arguably the best player on defense. He's been playing like the best player on defense. At least last game, I would say he's the best player on defense. 2022, his dead money is 12.5. His cap savings 5. So I don't think you get rid of him in 2022. Now past that, 2023 and 2024, dead money is $3 million and $1.5 million, and then savings is 15 and 17. So you could argue next year he'll be here. 2023, 2024, he may not be. Now with Mosley, and knowing Joe Douglas, is he going to pay a linebacker, $18 million in 2 years, who's going to be 30 years old? Most likely not. But with that being said, would you like the Jets to see them would you like to see Douglas negotiate something with Mosley? Like, okay, we're going to move some of this money around, lower your cap number, maybe guarantee an extra year or two, but bring it down to $14 million, $13 million, because like he is a important cog of this defense. And it's easy to say, oh, get rid of him, save that money. But then, yes, you have to replace him. And what do the Jets have there right now? Like, yeah, Sherwood, 5th round pick. Does he work out? Does he not work out? We don't know. Does Nasruddin work out? We don't know. We know that Mosley is a baller, and he's still relatively in his prime. Again, 29 at linebacker is different than 29 at corner or running back. So you could be an effective linebacker until you're low to mid 30s. So do you think they work something out with him, or like what's your feeling on kind of the future of CJ Mosley with this team?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think it's something they should definitely look to do because as good as he's playing, still you look 2 years in the future, he's going to be 31. Be paying him $18.5 million is a lot for the linebacker position, even if he does continue to play this well. So I feel like they will have the leverage to do that because I don't feel like he's going to get that number from anyone else at that age, even if he continues to play as well as he has. So I think that is something they should probably look to do. I would love if he keeps playing this way, like you said, linebackers age fairly well relative to other positions. So can he continue to be really good through 32 years old, which is what he signed through? I think absolutely he can. And you'd love to have him playing at this level on this team, not open up another hole. And also I have a guy who is huge for developing that position, like something they should look at. If he proves this year that he can maintain this level of play for the whole season, maybe you do it after 2022. If he proves it again next year, it's something they should definitely consider. Some sort of restructure, maybe a guarantee, like you said, bring the number down, but guarantee it, sort of like they did with Crowder this year, something they can do. I think that's the route that they'll go.
CD is saying, can you do a live? Oh, he's asking for breakdown to be released before Thursday. Again, full-time job. It comes out like Thursday, average 90, like 4 or 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
I watch it and I have work. I watch it until about 8, 9 o'clock. Have to sleep before work. Wednesday comes out, cram it more. And then before this, I woke up at 1:30. I recorded from 2:30 till 5:45 and did this show. So Thursday is the earliest you'll get it. It's mostly going to be Friday mornings. It's just impossible. Maybe if I don't work that week, my schedule moves around. It can come out on a Thursday morning. But it's hard. We'll do a live film breakdown. That I could do that. It'd be a little bit more boring than you think it is. It takes hours and hours and hours. Nania placing orders at a drive-thru. I don't know what that means. I don't know if you do, Nania. Moving on to the last position before we get to the Broncos.
I'm curious what that means.
I guess maybe because you're breaking up. Maybe I don't know. But now you broke up a little bit again. It's because of the rain and stuff, I think. But in terms of the second to last position, I guess. Actually, somebody asked this question about Morstead and Hardy. I don't know why. Where Morstead had 1 punt for 45 yards. Man should be coming back soon. Somebody asked about Davis. I saw in the chat. Thought he was done for the year. He's eligible to return after this week. I think. I'm not sure if he will. So that answers that question. Yeah, but the special teams. I think Hardy. I didn't really watch him this week, but last week had a good tackle. But let's just go to the corners anyway. And Amendola, people are killing him. He missed a 53-yarder. But the corners, that's the most impressive part of the team right now, based on relative to expectations. Carter has been doing really, and the argument against it now is oh well, they're dinking and dunking, so the corners aren't playing well. Like people are acting like, oh well, these receivers are getting wide open versus these corners, and the quarterback's just not seeing it. Not the case. Carter, and I talked to Marcus Coleman the other day. He actually texted me. I'm going to go to Texas one of the times and hang out Coleman, which is freaking awesome. He's an awesome dude. But nonetheless, we were talking about it. I think the DB coach name is Tony Oden, and Oden coached Coleman with the Texans, and he said he is big on these guys staying square, getting shuffles in. What have we been seeing? And it's something that, Nania, I know you've watched at least a couple of my things. I go over that like a billion times. Stay square, shovels in. Stay square, shovels in. Don't lean back. False steps, jump splits. And this year, they're staying square. They're getting their hands on. Carter has been excellent. You can argue Carter versus Hall for who's been the most impressive right now. Hall has been really, really good. Carter's been good. Eccles, based on, again, being a 6th-round pick, he's been playing pretty well. He's gotten beat in a time or two here and there, but it's not like he's blowing coverages. He's getting beat by like DJ Moore in an out route where he's contesting it. And then even when Guidry's come in the game, like they've all been really, really impressive based on our expectations. So I honestly, I can't be more enthused with the cornerback room and what we've seen so far throughout the 2 games. And I know there's more tests to come down the road, but for 2 games, you have to be ecstatic.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing about, playing a dink and dunk quarterback, like the first 2 that they played, is it's just a different type of challenge than a vertical type of quarterback. They make the corners make tackles underneath, and not all corners can do that. Could Bless Austin make the tackles that the Jets corners are making right now? I don't think so. So, I mean, tackling as a corner is not easy, and these guys have made it look really easy these first 2 weeks, and that's been huge. That's why they've been so successful, is because, did the Panthers make a few plays with McCaffrey? Yeah. Did the Patriots make a couple plays? Sure. But a lot of the dinking and dunking hasn't gone anywhere because Carter II is making ridiculous tackles where he's giving absolutely nothing extra beyond where the ball is being caught. Eccles has made some great hits. Bryce Hall has been doing a really good job executing his assignments. He's barely been targeted, and is part of it because they're playing dink and dunk quarterbacks? Yeah, he's going to be challenged more the next couple of weeks, but part of it is also he's just doing a great job with his assignments, and there have not been opportunities to target him. So they've done a great job, but we'll see against different styles of quarterbacks the next few weeks. Bridgewater's been airing it out. Ryan Tannehill attacks deep with Tennessee. Matt Ryan, can attack deep. So we'll see new tests. Can they hold up against these types of guys? But I don't think dink and dunk quarterbacks should diminish what these guys have done. It's just unlocked a certain part of their skill set where they've shown that they're really good, and that's breaking underneath, making tackles. And Carter II, especially in that area, has been awesome. In this game against the Patriots, I believe there were 6 plays where he was the primary defender, and he gave up 20 yards in those plays, which is ridiculous. That's 3 yards a catch. So he's been awesome. Eccles has been pretty good, and I think Hall has been, from a coverage standpoint, probably the best of the 3. So super promising start for those guys.
And that's like a big emphasis of this system too, is like, okay, they're going to play a little bit softer, I mean softer actually. They've been playing a lot more man coverage than I thought in general, but they gave up a lot of the short stuff, but like a lot of it's about like rallying up, making a tackle. Carter, he's maybe missed 1 tackle, and that was that Sony Michel play. Whatever, like second, third quarter of that game, but overall he's been amazing as a tackler. Guidry, or was it Guidry? Guidry who made that tackle on Christian McCaffrey in the flat where it could have been like 20-yard gain on 3rd down. He was isolated with him. He made that tackle. Hall had to play this game where it was later in the game, so they were really selling out for the run. But the receiver kind of gets like inside leverage on him. He spins the receiver and then gets it on the tackle for like a tackle for a loss. Like they've all been really good from that aspect, and then also from a coverage aspect too. So I am really excited about those guys. And again, more tests are coming. AJ Brown, Julio Jones, the Bengals with their receiver. There's plenty of receivers coming who they'll be tested against. But again, figuring UDFA, 5th round pick, and like 6th round pick, they're playing pretty damn well. So talk about Joe Douglas drafting. He's done a pretty good job at corner right now. So massive positive. And we haven't even really seen Pinnock or Dunn or any of those guys take major reps. So I think they bring in like a number 1, number 2 next year. And then you have these Guidrys and Carter, maybe not Carter. I think Carter's a starter as a slot. But you have like Guidry, Dunn, etc. Eccles as like backup guys for your 4, 5, 6. Like good spot to be in if they continue to play like they are right now. So it's awesome. So we have 5 minutes left. Unfortunately, on some of these nights where I work later, I have to end it right at 8. So we have 5 more minutes. Let's talk a little bit about the Broncos. Get to be pretty quick, obviously. But overall thoughts on the game, Nania. I know you're going to do a ton of articles in the next couple of days breaking down strengths versus weaknesses, where the Jets can exploit, whatnot, etc. But from your view right now, like what's your thoughts on the Broncos game?
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough matchup. I don't think there's a way to sugarcoat it. I definitely think it's tougher than the first 2. Just based on what the Broncos have done so far, they've been a really complete team. They don't have a lot of holes on either side of the ball. But the one thing that does stand out is that outside of Von Miller, who's been really good, they have 0 pass rush whatsoever outside of him. They're one of the worst, even though he's playing at his usual level. Without Bradley Chubb, they're still one of the worst pass rushing teams in the league, which just goes to show you how bad everyone else has been. So I think that's the biggest thing. They really have to exploit that. He's going to do his damage. He's going to see Moses a lot because he plays on the left side. But other than that, the other 4 guys have to dominate because they do have a chance to, because Denver so far outside of Miller, 0 damage. They're the worst pass rushing team in the league beyond their top pass rusher in terms of pressures. So that's something that they have to take advantage of. The other 4 guys have to protect really well. And if they can do that and give Wilson some time, make it obvious that you can roll him away from the right side and create easy pockets for him, I think then that could be your opportunity to move the ball. So I think that's the biggest advantage that the Jets have in this game.
Are you afraid of doing a score prediction, or what's your feeling on the score? I have to send you to pick them still too this week, but you have a score.
Yeah, I mean, I can't pick the Jets to win this week. So I was like going back and forth with the first week. I was like, well, I think the Panthers are a better matchup. They'll lose to the Patriots, but then after they lost to the Panthers, I switched to the Patriots game, picked them to win that one. So I can't pick them to win this game. In terms of a score, I don't know. I mean, do you have a score prediction in mind?
Yeah, I put 20-17 Broncos, unfortunately. And I think it's gonna be relatively close. Like, I think the Broncos are a good team. I just don't want to like anoint them to like a playoff team yet, because like, listen, and I know you only play who's in front of you, but they beat the Giants and the Jaguars, and the Jaguars were relatively close. It's not like they blew them out of the water. And like, I like Sutton. Is he like a legit bona fide number 1 yet? I don't necessarily think so. Then past that, obviously Judy's out. You have Hamler. So I don't think it's like a great receiving core. The offense, in terms of like the offensive line, I think it's an average-ish unit. Fant you have to worry about, but I don't think it's like a star-studded cast of offense. It's just you have Teddy Bridgewater, who's a relatively conservative quarterback, even though this year he's kind of going against that. But I think the defense plays as well as it did. They can keep him in the game, so I'm not overly concerned with the offense. It's more of a test this week than maybe the Patriots, but I still think they can handle them if again, they continue to play like they are. And then on defense, like you said, like some of the, I think it's more coaching than the names. Like some of the, obviously Miller's out there. You have Surtain, you have Fuller, you have Simmons, who's one of the better safeties in the NFL. So like there's talent. I think if the Jets do win this game, they have to control the ball on the ground, obviously limit Zach's mistakes and give him some easy completions, sweeps and pop passes and all these different things. I just don't think the Broncos are an 11-point favorite over the Jets right now. I think they're a good team. I just don't think they're like the holy ones right now, anointed. So I think there's a possibility, but I'd be shocked if the Jets won this game. No, I really wouldn't be. Hitting the chat real quick. Noah Fant. Yeah, Noah Fant. I think May, you're going to see May on him a lot. They've been doing a little bit with like putting like, I think it's a Guidry or Carter on running backs and tight ends a little bit. I think it's Guidry a couple times. I've seen him match up against tight ends. Down the Broncos wouldn't. Okay. We have a Pedro says Jets 23-20. Eagles talking crap about fantasy. Okay. Again, 8 o'clock is kind of a hard end time for me. So Nani, do you have any last words before we end? And again, Kyle Smith 1 week, Nania and Sabo sometimes the other week. So we're going to keep rotating who's on the live streams, but obviously appreciate you. And I appreciate the chat, everybody who's in here. I know it's tough to listen to Jets stuff and continue to support after 2 losses. It's been a problem being a Jets content creator for so many years and being so bad. Can you imagine if we were the Chiefs? It'd be a lot more fun sometimes. But Nani, any last words?
I would just say be patient. Joe Douglas is doing his thing. Just don't panic. I'm not panicking. Joe's not panicking. So, I mean, hang in there.
Yep. Appreciate all you guys. And we will be back in a week. And the film review comes out tomorrow. So I hope you check it out.